The Fan Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
A very good afternoon to you as we welcome you on into Rochester's only local sports talk show. It's the Sports Bar, Danger and Battaglia. We're glad you're with us. Thanks for listening along at 95.7 FM, AM 950, the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio. We're in TuneIn. We're also on YouTube, streaming live on YouTube and Twitch at our channel, The Fan Rochester. You can watch the stream every afternoon from 3 until 6. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
What does the song say? Inside jokes and takes. Like 30 seconds before we go on the air, Danger tells me, check out my new team name. And it's not profane. It's also an inside joke that nobody would explain. But literally, that has me in tears. I'm trying to catch my breath.
I'm sorry, Cheeto.
Like purposely.
Well,
you could have told me that earlier in the day.
I'm sorry. I saw our lineup today, and I know we're going to talk some fantasy football. And my fantasy football team name has nothing to do with Michael F. Florio, but we are going to talk to Michael F. Florio from NFL Network when he joins us here in the Sports Bar later this afternoon at 4:25.
Okay, so we don't want to overreact to the preseason. However, it is a data point, as we would say. So what kind of stood out here after week one of the NFL preseason? Also, Michael is based in Los Angeles. He's actually been to Rams camp. What the heck is going on with that quarterback right now? Needing an epidural, doing these things. Are we seeing the end here of Matthew Stafford, or is everything just going to be fine?
Last time I heard epidural, I believe my daughter was being delivered, and I don't want to know about what that feels like. The administration of an epidural, I feel like, is a very painful thing, according to my wife. And the idea that it basically numbed her from the waist down. Yeah, I don't know if I want to be messing around with the spine.
Right.
He give me an injection to the spine. No, thank you. I would say if you're worried about Matt Stafford, I think there's reasons to be worried about Matt Stafford, but I think it's going to be fine. I think it's preventative. I think week one, he's out there. The guy is tough as nails. I mean, what are you going to see out of him in the preseason anyways? If he suits up, are you going to be okay with that? If he's resting it, if it's just, is
it a pain management issue, or like, dude, the back, the spine, it can press on nerves, and all of a sudden things aren't working the way they should. So I'm not ready to say, hey, it's nothing.
It's not nothing. Yeah. It's definitely not nothing. But history has shown with this guy that it is, in terms of his toughness, when you need him, I think he's out there week one. How effective he is and for how long he's effective this season, that's debatable. But I think right now it feels like the Rams might be just managing him through the preseason. And let's face it, this is a veteran, doesn't want to be out there for the preseason anyways.
No, they're the team that doesn't play anybody during the preseason.
That's right.
Ever. So.
That's right. Well, we'll get Florio's take on Stafford and week one of the preseason. He also participated in a draft I noticed earlier, a Superflex draft, essentially a 2-quarterback league. And his strategy was one that caught my eye, and I want to know if it was truly his strategy going in or if it was just the way the draft fell to him. We'll get him a little strategy advice for Superflex or 2-quarterback leagues from Michael F. Florio when he stops by at 4:25 this afternoon here in the Sports Bar.
Bottom of the hour, our regular visit with Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, and the Shout podcast. Matt, of course, in town, throughout training camp, now back in Buffalo. And, we have an interesting day today in Orchard Park, so we'll get Matt's perspective on this, as that'll be our lead story. Matt coming up at the bottom of this hour.
James Cook is back at practice. So my immediate question, because I think when people saw he's coming back to practice, I think immediately everybody went to, deal must be imminent. And my thing to that is, was a deal imminent or were fines imminent? Because James Cook has made it very clear he's about his money. And I just got the sense with each passing day that Sean McDermott had to ask questions about James Cook. He was getting more perturbed. We know how perturbed Brandon Beane was at all of this, the way it all went down, the first hold-in practice, it caught everybody off guard. So it's something they had to deal with. Now, the Bills could have fined him for not practicing.
So that's true, correct?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that absolutely, even though he's out there and he's doing the walkthroughs and he's going to attend meetings, hey, I'm not going to practice. Okay, we're going to fine you for that.
Right.
And the Bills have looked the other way so far.
Yeah, I think, you don't want this to get contentious, but knowing that he was there, but he wasn't practicing, and I guess is a long way of saying I don't think they're as close as everybody believes. Like, oh, a deal is imminent. I'm like, I don't know that a deal is imminent. I think fines might have been imminent. Like, I think it's important that he's out there. I think the team knows it's important you're out here. You're under contract. And there is some collective bargaining elements of this as well, as far as the CBA and what the team could have actually done if the hold-in continued. I mean, maybe there is a deal coming, but the collective bargaining agreement could block him from receiving an accrued season towards free agency for failing to perform his contract services for the club for a material period of time. That's from the CBA.
I don't think that's ever happened before, though, at this point. Like, I'm going back to Le'Veon Bell, and that would have been under the same CBA where it got to the season like, oh, wow, he really was serious about that.
Yeah, they could have fined him for refusing to practice. They could have fined him for not playing in the preseason opener. They could prevent him from an accrued season towards free agency for not showing up to practice. So it could have just been as simple as that conversation.
And I want to just say first, I think the Bills, hard to criticize how they've handled it. You can certainly say, no, pay him the money or whatever. That's a different conversation. I'm talking about from the Sean McDermott standpoint, what do you do at this point? I don't know what fining him at this point, holding someone against their will, does at this point.
Well, he's under contract.
I get that, but like you're gonna get out there and
right. Well, this is what we don't know. We don't know when you hear Sean McDermott and Brendan, we say, oh yeah, we've had conversations. We've had plenty of conversations. What are those conversations? Are they conversations about the contract? Or are they conversations about, hey man, how about you get back to practice?
The word conversations means nothing is getting done. You like when I go here, right?
Yeah.
Like
Get you
nothing
fired up.
is getting done. That is a Kevin Adams loser word.
Yeah.
It is.
This is Sean McDermott before practice today on the James Cook situation.
To clarify on James, have you had, when you say expected, have you had conversations with him that lead you to think he's practicing today? Has anything changed?
I would say so. I would say so that things have changed, Elena, and yes, we've had conversations with James, good conversations, as I've mentioned before, and the information that we're getting is that he is moving in the direction of practicing today. So, we'll see in a few minutes here, but that's the information we've gotten.
Is that from James himself, just to clarify that?
I don't think it's necessary to get into the weeds on it, but the most important thing is that he is expected to practice, and I'm rather confident that that's going to happen.
Is his situation still kind of day-to-day, or is it the hold-in's over?
Too early to go there. Right now, I'm just focused on what's right in front of us, which is the practice, which would be a step for us here, which is what we're focused on right now.
That's a coach that is perturbed. He's answering questions about this.
Correct. And he can't really go beyond because he doesn't know. I mean, maybe it works today, but maybe it doesn't work tomorrow.
That's the information I'm getting about. It sounds like this is completely agent-driven at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And if James Cook is a ball player that we all know he is, and if you want to believe him and take him at his word that he wants to be a part of this team, he loves competing with these guys. He loves his quarterback. He wants to win a Super Bowl. He has to know that every day he misses is a knock against him. It's a strike against his ability to do that. Josh Allen's excited to have James Cook back.
You know, as players, we have to separate sometimes the business and the sport. You know, I know both sides thought that what they're doing is the right thing. Obviously, we're very happy to have Jimbo out there today, and I trust in Bean and what he's going to get done. And, you know, we're just very happy that he's out there with us right now.
Knowing, hey, he's back there, right? Like, it's noticeable. Obviously, everybody's paying attention. What does that do for you guys as a team?
Again, just to have him out there and getting those reps and making sure that he's getting ready to go for game one. And, again, we had no doubts that he wouldn't be ready, but to be out there with the guys and sweating and battling in practice, I think that's good for the team.
Well, you could say that they weren't at deadline, which I don't think they are. However, Danger, like bringing it back to Le'Veon Bell, I think his career got sidetracked, not just for that holdout, but the fact that he didn't really get himself in football shape when he came back. Is that part of this, too, that the Bills, all right, in our mind, we need to callous you up here a little bit. Not practicing all the month of August and then just showing up week one, it sometimes doesn't lead to good things.
9 days.
9 times.
After he started his hold-in, he's back. James Cook listens to the sports
Apropos.
bar. Yeah, listens to the sports bar. So that's a bit of Bills news from today. James Cook seemingly ending the hold-in, returning to practice, whether or not that's long-term, whether or not that leads to a new deal, whatever it leads to. For today, at least he was on the practice field participating fully.
My hope of seeing what this is all about in tonight's edition of Hard Knocks, I'm not holding my breath knowing that that's probably something the Bills would not be really cool with, showing the agent side of things here.
Right. Not practicing today for the Bills. Cedric Van Pran Granger still out. Max Hairston obviously still out, although not on crutches anymore. Good news. Khalil Shakir dealing with the high ankle. Curtis Samuel didn't practice but was participating in some drills with trainers. Shaq Thompson is out. Tyler Bass still out. Tylen Grable, Alec Anderson still out. Cole Bishop and Taylor Rapp were both limited. Caden Prather also limited. Derek Forrest and Daquan Hardy doing special teams and individual drills as well. And the Bills today did sign another safety in Trey Herndon, 29 years old, who played in a game last season for the Saints after spending 6 with the Jags, 16 games for Jacksonville in 2023, 46 tackles, 9 passes defended.
9 times.
Along with a forced fumble. The Bills releasing tight end Matt Sokol in the corresponding move.
Yeah, that tells me, all right, we may need – he went to Vanderbilt, by the way, too. Okay, signing a safety here, does that lead you to think, okay, that your starting safeties might be available this week in Chicago? Kind of doesn't tell me.
Probably not.
No.
Probably not. So, again, more missed time for Bishop and Rapp getting back on the field together, hopefully, here shortly.
And the practice is on Friday. We'll be on the air while these joint practices against the Bears are coming up. You hear Brownie talking about it, like the team is heading out on Thursday. So Thursday being the travel day, Friday being – it's funny the Bears are doing this back-to-back weeks. I don't recall too many teams scheduling not one but 2 teams to come in. Okay, come in a few days early and let's practice.
Yeah, I wonder if they just feel like they get more work done with a joint practice than they do just practicing on their own. Like it's fresh, it's unfamiliar, it's challenging. It's a little appetizer before the game. In fact, you could probably get more work done in a joint practice. Like last week, the Bears and the Dolphins, and for everybody that was upset, why isn't Caleb Williams? Well, Caleb Williams didn't play in that game because during the joint practice, he took like 70 reps. He was all about the joint practice and not about the game. And so I kind of like the idea of more teams doing that. I think it's fun, and for the preseason, it gives you more opportunity to see different things other than the same faces across the line from you every single practice.
Is it greedy to ask for that next year, Fisher?
Does Fisher have the accommodations to pull that off?
They did it before with the Browns. However, it was I heard Woodcliff. You had to put the opposing team up somewhere else. And there's a lot of logistics that go in. So, like, at the end of it, like, is that worth it at that point? Also, too, it seems like this template has worked for the Bills. Like, if you notice, the camp schedule has been the same year after year after year here for the past 4 years.
Yep. Late July into early August, just over a couple of weeks, and right up right up until that first preseason game. Seems to work out okay. A little bit of a scare at practice today with Deion Dawkins walking into the field house with athletic trainers. Didn't return to practice, but was asked by reporters if he was okay after he left early. He smirked. He danced away. He didn't really. He's probably okay, but maybe he misses a day of practice. So another practice for the Bills tomorrow before heading to Chicago for a joint practice on Friday with the Bears, and then the Sunday night preseason game in Chicago, which we'll have for you here on the Fan. Rochester, 2 hours of pregame leading up to it. And don't forget, how could you, tonight, episode 2 of Hard Knocks.
So what do we see in episode 2 tonight? Cook is a storyline. Joe Andreessen, we know, is going to be a storyline.
We'll get the preseason game will be
the preseason
the
game,
capper, right?
And the moving trucks too, or as Pat Harris, the director, called it, scene change.
Yeah, good scene change.
All right,
everybody gets situated back in Buffalo, and you get to see a little bit of the behind the scenes, a little bit of the life of the players we started to learn a little bit about. Do we get Dawson Knox's wife make another appearance in episode 2? I'd say yeah, probably.
The
Killers. Were any of the Bills at the Killers concert?
You know, I thought we would have more things would have come across my feed in terms of, hey, look who's here. And I think Bills players value their off days. Maybe you had one or two.
I think I saw something from Dawson Knox talking about the show, but I don't know if they all went to the show. And let's face it, if they're violating team rules, we've seen they're going to lose. People are going to lose their jobs, so they're not going to mess around with violating any team policies.
Well, that was on their day off. So they should have been free to stay for the concert and not worry about getting back in time for curfew there or anything.
Yeah, I just I felt like we would have seen or heard more
about
it. But maybe we will tonight. Episode 2, Hard Knocks tonight, 9:00.
The percentage chance that you and I get on there, I'm putting it at 10% now. The more I think about this, the 300-to-1 ratio ain't good.
I was going to say 2%.
Wow, 2%.
I say a 2% chance. There's a 2% chance that we get on. I would give the Buffalo Plus crew maybe a 3-4%. I'll give them a 4% chance.
The Buffalo Plus crew, I think you could bring back in with being asked about Cook. Here's his response.
Yeah,
that's how you use it.
Yeah,
in that format.
I would give them a better chance than us. I mean, that 300-to-1 ratio that you're talking about, 300 hours of footage for 1 hour of programming. The odds are not in our favor for our little 12-minute conversation with Joe Andreessen that they were filming with us. So we'll see, but that'll be a fun watch tonight.
Sean McDermott hot yoga. What do you think?
Are they going to follow Coach to breathe?
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of respect it. It's not for me, but if he's doing that, he's in a different place mentally and physically. That dude is not joking around. Hot yoga?
Okay, just yoga in general.
Yoga's tough.
Yoga in general, not easy.
For sure. Gino, I don't know if you saw this. This is football related, but not necessarily on the field. This is more about how we consume football, and we're going to get a little nostalgic here for a while.
I know where you're going.
Week 3 of the NFL, CBS will do a throwback edition of the NFL Today, and our guy, Brent Musburger, will be in studio for it.
So that
I mean, you better do it right.
Yeah.
You better do it right.
Bring back the music, bring back the graphics. He's the only one still with us, but then you realize, oh my gosh, it's 50 years.
Been 50 years.
50 years.
And I'm not satisfied with just an interview with Brent. I want Brent anchoring I want him on the desk. I want him anchoring the episode. If I learned anything watching him at the Hall of Fame game,
he's still got it.
He's got it.
Yeah.
He's still got it.
Gentlemen, step aside.
Yes.
Let Brett run the point here.
Yes, absolutely. I want to hear more from Brett and less from JJ. Can we get more Brett Musburger if you're going to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the NFL Today?
When 30 for 30 first came out, it was a big deal because, well, there was a lot of stories that, they were chomping at the bit here. Now it's like it would really have to kind of grab your attention, right? There's so many sports docu-series out there. But one of the first 30 for 30s was Jimmy the Greek.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was fantastic. It had all sorts of footage, and he was the big character on it, but a lot of Brent from back in the day as well, too.
If they're going to do a proper throwback, I want the intro to be proper as well. I want violence. I mean, they have softened it up so much. I want the most violent, gruesome hits. I want dudes bleeding from their face. I want bloody knuckles. I want violence.
Bodies slamming,
Yep.
hits out of bounds, late
all of
hits.
it.
Yeah.
Celebrations, excessive celebrations. I want all of it. I want everything from my youth returned. If you're going to celebrate it, do it the right way with the most violent highlights you can find in a package to open up the show and have Brent anchoring it all. Come on. Let's do it. You can't skimp out on this, CBS. You got to do it right. Give Brent the desk and give me an opener that just reeks of violence from the early 80s.
This lines up nicely because you might be thinking, I mean, it's going to interfere with my Bills viewing. No, the Bills are off that Sunday because, well, they play on the previous Thursday against Miami. So you can just kind of settle in. Oh, I'm getting ready.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I also saw this. We've got a bit of a theme going here to start the show. This happened Saturday morning, and maybe he needs to do this one more time to get in the good graces of the sports bar. But Browns defensive end Myles Garrett, you saw this, right? 100 in a 60-mile-an-hour zone. I mean, this guy has now accumulated 8 speeding citations in Cleveland since he's been drafted in 2017. If you see somebody speeding through Cleveland, ask them for an autograph. It's probably Myles Garrett, and he's one shy, Gino. He's just one shy.
9 times.
So what's the deterrent? You rack up all this stuff. Okay, it's $250 the fine, and if you pay it in advance, you don't have to appear in court.
Ooh.
Okay, put that in Myles Garrett context. $250 to him is what, $2.50 to you or I?
Yeah, I think he can afford it. I'm not really worried about his fines. I'm worried about him, not necessarily safe. I'm sure. Well, he's only going 100 in a 60. I mean, maybe is that wrong? I don't know. 8 speeding tickets since 2017. Holy. Deion Dawkins somewhere's like, bro, come on over. You can drift over here with me, and we'd do it in the confines of my little compound here.
You know, we don't get any Thursday night games this week. We got to wait till Friday.
Yeah. No. But you get a Monday night game.
We do. We get Cincinnati and Washington. I'm sorry. I shouldn't complain, but 8 o'clock on a Sunday in the preseason. Really?
Oh, you'll watch. I'll watch.
Of course we'll watch.
We will watch. Matt Perino has been watching practice, covering the Buffalo Bills for the Syracuse Post-Standard. It's Tuesday. That means we check in with our buddy Matt. The latest on James Cook. Again, the question I have, what's more close to happening here for James Cook? Was it fines or is it a contract? Which one is it? Because something reversed course here, and James Cook is back on the practice field today, and I'm not really willing to say right away that there's a new deal imminent.
It's funny how, the agent, maybe this is Bean just saying, hey, part of the negotiation, let's not do this through the media. We haven't really heard anything from the quote-unquote Cook camp here.
Right. Yeah. And, we'll talk a little bit about the safeties as well. I think that's troubling.
Oh, there is one change on the depth chart that they just released. Demoted to third-string kicker is Ray Davis.
It's tough.
They actually put him on that. I think that's kind of funny, actually.
Yeah, that's a tough blow for the second-year running back / backup kicker. Matt Perino covering the Buffalo Bills for the Syracuse Post-Standard. Our guest next on The Fan Rochester.
You're listening. update.
James Cook back at practice today for the Buffalo Bills, wearing the Guardian cap, although it's really unknown if the hold-in is permanently off. Josh Allen talking about the upcoming joint practices against the Bears.
You get the opportunity to see new looks, go against different guys. The number one thing, again, I think everyone kind of knows about these types of practices. Sometimes they can get a little chippy, and we're not looking to go out there and fight, but we're going out there to compete and get those competitive juices flowing, and that's very fun for me.
Bills and Bears, 6 o'clock Sunday for the coverage, 8 o'clock kickoff here on the Fan Rochester. We'll talk to Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, and the Shout podcast coming up. Red Wings play their first home game in the month of August tonight. Syracuse is the opponent. The Yankees sending Carlos Rodon to the mound against the Twins. New York looking to make it 2 in a row. Gene Vitaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, the Fan Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. In the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
I don't have any true updates other than he is, off the crutches and starting to move around a little bit more and, starting to move around now, walk through for the first time. So, it's a little bit like Cole's situation last year. When you get injured, unfortunately, as a young player, you're missing a ton of fill in the blank reps, experience, technique work, fundamentals, all those things. And, there's going to be, a lot of work to get done here as he continues to get going from a ramp-up standpoint.
There's head coach Sean McDermott before practice today with an update on the Max Hairston knee injury. Good to hear that he's off crutches. Still unfortunate that he's missing time. We welcome in Matt Perino, as we do every Tuesday at this time, covering the Bills for the Syracuse Post-Standard. A busy day today, Matt, as we see the return of James Cook to the practice field. And we're kind of wondering if this means that a deal is imminent or if this means that fines were imminent. Which side do you lean on?
I mean, I just think this is another example of how maybe this hasn't been the best run race from a representative perspective. I mean, James shows up for camp, he goes through the practices, and then to pull back when he does, I've never gotten the sense that they were that close to where something like that would make sense. So now we're sitting here, and in a little bit of a weird way, it feels like Cook's got a little bit of egg on his face. That Sean McDermott talked about them having good conversations. But you wonder, is this something that the leverage just is on the team side? You're seeing that, and now he's kind of back in the mix. And listen, I'd love not to kind of hypothesize this kind of stuff, but we talked to James Cook after practice, and he didn't want to talk about it. So it still feels to me like there's strings being pulled here. I don't know if James is super comfortable with the way that it's unfolded. For him to start the hold-in process, and on day 2, when he's walking out to practice, to do a complete 180 and to walk back off the field, it just feels like, I don't know, there just doesn't seem to be a lot of leverage. And I think that the 9 years of being in McDermott here, specifically being in the way that he negotiates, he's not going to be pressured into this deal by this team that, I don't know, I think that they think they can buck the trends and try to get him paid. They're not going to overspend based on what they've allotted. And I just think that's created this standstill. And the longer that he stays out, the longer this could potentially go into the season. And then now you're losing not only game checks, but you're losing opportunities to, make your statement in 2025 on why you should be paid in 2026.
Brandon Beane, if you go back to, really the spring or whenever it was when the $15 million, he kind of made it clear, Matt, that he didn't like that, this was kind of being held in this form. So maybe from that standpoint, if you're Brandon Beane, hey, let's take this out of the media, let's take it out of the front face, because I feel like I would really love to hear from the representation here of Cook, what is this all about? Just to be clear here, too, I mean, the chances we see that tonight have to be somewhere near zero, right? If the Bills have some editorial control over Hard Knocks, correct?
We won't see Cook stuff?
We'll see Cook stuff, but I'm not anticipating we're going to see the agent. Once upon a time, this is going back years, Darrelle Revis had a really big public holdout, and you saw the agent and you saw all that, but that was a different time when, they were kind of doing it on their own. I can't imagine we're going to see the unfiltered Cook version here tonight.
Usually you could see when agents are there, like guys like hang out with them after training camp practice in that little friends and family area. And of course, over the last week we have not seen James Cook, but I've not seen his agents around. And I actually think I've seen them. One of them was posted on Instagram being at another player's, I think it might have been the Bengals. I think Hiller represents Jamar Stewart also. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know what the next step is. I think it was a little bit of a miscalculation only because this was always going to probably be the end result. Like, he's going to have to show up. He doesn't want to get fined. And once you start missing games, you're going to get fined. Like, Hassan Reddick was in a completely different situation last year, right? Like, he had already kind of signed one big contract. He was holding out for a second big one. He had maybe some money to burn. And honestly, if he had that all to do over again, I don't know if he would have gone that route because it's, I think he's a little bit of an untouchable now, and I don't think he's going to get the kind of money, or I can't remember if he signed this offseason, but if he did, it's not for what he was probably asking for pre that whole debacle with the Jets last year.
Matt, what about safety? We saw that the Bills signed another safety today. We know that Bishop is working back and Rapp is working back, and I imagine we won't see them participating in Sunday night's game in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, the best way that we'll learn is at the joint practice. Like, it seems like Bishop's getting kind of warm back up. I'm wondering if that's in anticipation for maybe playing and getting thrown out there against the Bears on Friday in the practice, and then maybe getting a chance to play, or maybe they hold him out completely until the game, or maybe worst case scenario, he doesn't play in the game. If he doesn't play in the game, like I have a very strong suspicion that it's going to be Damar Hamlin as the starting safety to start the year based on Sean's comments today about just like the frustration around, like, of course it's not Cole not wanting to be out there, but again, the second straight summer where he's missing valuable reps. And, it's the same kind of thing with some of these players. Balen Spector would almost like perpetually injured lower body, like calf, foot, ankle. I mean, it seemed like it was like he'd come and he'd play for a week or two, and it would be something else that lands him right back on the injury report. And it felt like that with Bishop to a degree. So I don't know. I still think they're going to give him every opportunity to play and to make the team. I mean, Sean was complimentary of Damar Hamlin today, as he should be. I thought Damar was really solid last year. But, like, there's a ceiling to that. And it's the reason why they drafted Cole Bishop, and it's you've seen flashes of that when he could play this summer. It just hasn't been as much as you wanted.
Matt Perino, Shout Podcast, Syracuse Post Standard, our guest here in the Sports Bar. Matt, we haven't talked since the Bills. We actually saw them on the field against the Giants on Saturday. What were some of your bigger takeaways in that loss to the Giants?
I mean, I think my first biggest takeaway was there is a lot to be excited about when it comes to the interior of this defensive line, specifically the rookies. And, beyond that, I know he's going to sit for 6 weeks. He didn't have like this unbelievable game per se, but I had Mitch Morse on the podcast last night, and that's up now. You can listen to that on all the platforms this morning. And we got a chance to talk about like his big impressions. And one of the things he mentioned is like, I played against Larry Ogunjobi over the years. He is an absolute handful. Offensive linemen hate going against him. And that's a guy that you're going to have basically in the bullpen and just warming up for the first 6 weeks that you get to unleash. And you throw on top of that the TJ Sanders and Deion Walker, guys that are not going to be asked to play massive roles out of the gate. They're comfortable. They're finding a way to make an impact already. And to me, that's what you look for in these training camp games is like, can you take some moments where guys are winning that are finding a way to make an impact and maybe project that a little bit to the regular season, what their role might be. I mean, they're probably going to have a larger role at the start than they would have had Ogunjobi been healthy, but it's good news that I think that from all reports, they're really figuring things out here a little bit maybe quicker than I think a lot of people there thought, or not even that they thought, but like I know that Sean and his team, they don't like to put too much on rookies right out of the gates, but it feels like everything they put on Sanders and Walker's plates, they've been able to digest it. They're taking it out in the field. They're finding a way to make plays. And to me, that's super exciting. I think it takes pressure off of Ed Oliver, which is, to me, the overarching emphasis that probably was at play with the way they approached this offseason, especially in the D-line.
Matt, watching Dane Jackson get beat for a touchdown on Saturday, in my head mentally, I'm reordering and reshuffling the depth chart at corner, knowing that Trey White is opposite Christian Benford and is probably going to get targeted a lot. I know he's been great this summer. I know he's looked good in camp, but we also have a head coach who, when he spoke to us, said, "Yeah, we should, modify and temper our expectations for Trey White, because as good as he's looked, he's still coming off of these injuries, and he's not what he was when he was an All-Pro." All that being said, kind of good news that Hairston is off the crutches, and we might see him, hopefully. Do you get a sense that Hairston won't start the season on PUP, that we will see him as early as potentially week 1?
I don't. And I'm sitting here thinking just of the usual ramp-up time that's required off of an injury like this. And, yeah, it's great news that he's off the crutches and he's starting to walk around. But in terms of being able to, cut and break and everything that you need to do to be able to get back to a place where you could play competitive defensive back for the Bills, and not playing in any preseason games, the lead-up time that he's going to need just to get his body right, and then on top of that, the practice time to where they'd ever feel comfortable putting him in a game, I don't see how there's any way that he doesn't start the season on injury reserve, because that gives you that 4-week window where you can get his body fully right. You don't want to rush this. This is serious. You rush something like this and you bring somebody back too early, and now you're potentially affecting what could be important snaps later in the season. And I think that they have some depth here to survive, especially in the early part of the season with Benford, and obviously they have Tre'Davious White, and whether you want to go Dane Jackson, Dorian Strong. Now, I'm probably one of the ones in the media that is a little bit lower on the summer of Dorian Strong than most. He's had some fun moments, some high moments, but I feel like there's been some consistent struggles. And even in the preseason game, when he got a chance to play in that first half, I think it was Corey Couch who didn't do him any favors by whiffing on that tackle at the start. If you're strong in that spot, you have to figure out a way to make a tackle. And if I'm Sean McDermott and I'm back in the lab and have the tape up, I'm looking at that thing and can I trust Dorian Strong to get on the field if I think he's a tackling liability? One of the strengths on his scouting report coming out of school. Now, that was a one-off play, but I've seen some other spots where he's kind of just whiffed on some things, and as I would expect a 6th-round rookie to have those moments. But when you're talking about the depth here, I think that positions Dane Jackson in a place to be able to make the team, because I think that they know the floor there. He's played snaps for them in the past. And honestly, I wasn't overly impressed with Tre'Davious White's preseason game. I think that, to your point, if he's going to be targeted quite a bit, there are serious concerns apart from his ability to cover and his ability to tackle, especially when he gets lined up against tight ends. You're starting with Isaiah Likely out of the gates in Baltimore and their slew of tight ends. And, there's a bunch of really good tight ends in the first part of the season. And you wonder about, do you trust Dane Jackson a little bit more in those spots to just tackle? That's something that I think can get interesting. But Tre'Davious is in that spot. They've been playing him in that spot. I don't anticipate he won't get the opportunity to start out of the gates. But this isn't ideal. And honestly, this tackling problem, I don't know if it's necessarily solved by rookie undersized Maxwell Hairston. I think he's a willing tackler, but is that something that you'd say is a strength of his game? No. So there's some concerning parts to this cornerback room. Although I will say Taron Johnson looked lights out before the injury ended his day the other day. He looks ready to go.
We're talking to Matt Perino, Shop Podcast, Syracuse Post Standard. Matt, is Terrell Shavers, is there a spot for him on the 53? Chris Brown brought up a good point. If he's on the practice squad, would another team just kind of sign him? Has he done enough maybe to garner interest in the league? I guess kind of going, part and parcel with this is Curtis Samuel. If Curtis Samuel isn't on the field, but you look at that contract, what is the realistic possibility that the Bills would just do some sort of pick swap thing and just give themselves a little cap space? Is Curtis Samuel on this final 53?
I think he is. I think it comes down to two things. I think, number one, the money. I don't think anybody's taking on that contract to trade for him, and I don't think the Bills, it makes a ton of sense to eat that money with what I think still is a little bit of an unknown in terms of what you would do with Shavers. Now, I think they could do multiple things with Shavers. I think he almost, in a weird way, fits into the kind of mold that Samuel is in terms of the versatility. Shavers has played everywhere for the Bills. I mean, he's learned every single position. He's somebody that's been in their system longer than Samuel. So there's juice there. There's playmaking there now that we've seen in a tangible game outside of that one-off in the regular season a year ago, which was kind of just blocked up really well. I'm not taking anything away from Tyrell Shavers in that moment, but the plays that he's made this summer and then again in that game to win down the field, that's something that the Bills are looking to find in their offense. And so I think if you risk it, like I mentioned, I think that somebody signs him. I tweeted it during the game. Like, if you cut him this time around in year 3 as the hype continues to build around the guy, I think he's going to get signed, and you just have to ask yourself the question, is it worth chancing that? The one interesting thing is, like, the Bills are going to have some maneuvers here because they're the 2 suspended players that you don't have to do anything with them. They immediately go on the suspended list. They don't count for your 53. Then if you think about, like, some of the offensive line plays that you can do, you have 2 IR spots that you can use. So maybe like I mentioned, maybe you go Hairston, maybe you go Cedric Van Prank Granger, and maybe you redshirt him here in year 2, and that allows you to get like a Kendrick Green over, and then in Hairston spots, maybe you can bring an extra wide receiver. The challenge is, if you want to keep Moore and you keep Samuel, that's your 5 with Shakir, Keon, and Palmer. Then, okay, Shavers is number 6. What about Chenault or Hamler, depending on if you want to keep Codrington as the returner? Like, what if Chenault wins that job, and now you're talking about potentially 7 wide receivers? And I know that Chenault wouldn't make the team in that role, but he's also a receiver. So it's very interesting. I think this is going to be – you have almost 1 through 47 or 48 pretty much locked up. It's those last 4 or 5 that I think are going to be interesting conversations over the next 2 weeks.
I like Chenault's game on Saturday. Did he separate himself from Codrington and Hamler in the return game for special teams, Matt, in your opinion?
So Codrington had a really good game defensively, but it was against third team offense. So I don't know how much you can extrapolate out of that. The thing to your point about Chenault is he offers double value. He's somebody that you can put out there on offense as a former second-round pick, can do a lot of the jet sweep stuff that, I don't know if the Bills have completely, there's a departure in that department since Brian Dable left out of town, but it's definitely at a much lower rate than they did in terms of the creative usage of their wide receivers. They don't do as much of that anymore. But that's something that you can potentially do with Chenault. And I agree. I thought that his returns looked really strong. I do know that they like Codrington, though. Like, if this is a guy that has a full season in their system, especially as a punt returner, where I think they felt like he was a weapon with his average yards per return, everything like that. So it's going to be, these next 2 games, when you're talking about what is there to watch, especially if Josh Allen potentially doesn't play in either of them, these are the fringe things. Like, every time there's a punt or a kick, you're looking at Chenault if he's returning, or Codrington or Hamler, but you're also looking, like, is Shavers out there? How is he covering the kick? Like, he was involved in a tackle on one of the kickoffs. I was rewatching the game, and I'm like, okay, like, he's a willing tackler. Sometimes you have that question about a lengthier, bigger wide receiver. Is that something they're going to want to do, is play like the physical style of ball on special teams? So a lot to watch for. It's tough, though, because like I said, there's a lot of it that's already pretty much set in stone.
Matt, busy week. Interesting week here ahead. Joint practices, game Sunday. Tell us what we can look forward to here at Syracuse Post-Standard and the Shout Podcast.
Yeah, Hard Knocks heads back to Chicago. I'm sure Caleb Williams is thrilled to see all those cameras again. Sorry, that's a low blow there to Mr. Garbage Plate. Sorry about that, Mike.
It's all right.
So, yeah, you got you covered. Like I mentioned, I had Mitch Morse on. He was great. 48 minutes. We were talking a little bit of went down memory lane. We're talking about this current iteration of the team. He's actually getting into the podcasting game, so he's going to be kind of a semi-recurring guest on the Shout podcast. I have hopefully Mike Sando coming up later in the week as well to dive into his quarterback tiers. That should be a fun conversation. And then I'll have you covered from I don't feel as much as of the local media is traveling for the joint practice. So Shout's going to be one of the podcasts that is definitely on site and bringing you the full report from the joint practice on Friday.
Awesome, man. Safe travels. Thanks again for the time, and we'll talk to you again next week.
You got it, buddy. Take care.
There he is, Matt Perino, covering the Bills for the Syracuse Post-Standard. Hear him on the Shout podcast as well with Ryan Talbot and apparently Mitch Morse from time to time. That's nice.
That's cool. I think he brings up a good point about corner, too. It could be a glaring weakness here, like what you saw with Tre'Davious White against the run, against a big tight end, and having difficulty trying to wrestle him down. For that reason, if Dane Jackson makes the 53, people will lose their minds. But if you're just looking at this for, all right, we'd rather have that skill set out against this team and take our chances with Lamar downfield, I could very easily see that.
Yeah, my fear with Trey White, as good as he's looked this summer, as good as he looked at camp, is that he's still closer to the Trey White we saw last season than the Trey White we all remember when he was, Pro Bowler. It's not the same player. He's probably closer to the version we saw last year, even though he looks good in camp.
And the vibes are good.
The vibes are good. The energy is
good,
up.
yeah.
He's working his ass off. Everybody sees it. Everybody knows it. But I still think, all that being said, my fear is that he is still closer to what we saw last year. And we'll let it play out and see what happens week one. That's going to be a fascinating thing to see if the Ravens try to exploit that and go at their former corner from last season.
It's not a good situation when half of your projected secondary right now can't get on the field. And going back to the beginning there about Cole Bishop. And are we getting near ready for DeMar Hamlin week one here?
Yeah, it's not ideal.
Not great, Bob.
Michael F. Florio from NFL Network is going to stop by next hour. We'll talk some fantasy football. Gino, I know you've got a game in week one that you want to...
I do. I think this is actually... It's one of those wait, this is an easy one to call. This is easy. If you look at the trends, you look at the history of this matchup, but if it looks too easy, wait a second. What am I missing? Let me run this by Mike Danger as we pick one game each week from week one, and we do a little slow roll.
We have time for your calls if you want to join us as well. 585-866-4FAN is our phone number. 866-4326.
You're listening to the Sports Bar. sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Yes, James Cook was back at practice for the Buffalo Bills today. No, we don't know if this means his holding is permanently off or if there's a contract forthcoming. Head coach Sean McDermott, though, gives us an update on Maxwell Harrison.
We have not had those specific conversations. Due to the timeline, there may be a conversation that needs to be had at some point. Right now, we have not visited that.
Bills and Bears, 6 o'clock Sunday for the coverage here on The Fan, Rochester. Red Wings play their first home game of the month of August tonight. Syracuse is the opponent. The Yankees sending Carlos Rodon to the mound tonight against the Twins. New York looking to make it 2 in a row. Sports brought to you by GetMyPerks.com. Get a certificate for Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub for half price. This won't last long. Log on to GetMyPerks.com today. Team Battaglia, the sports leader, The Fan, Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Welcome back into the sports bar. If you're a fan, you can't help but notice if you've watched ESPN the last couple of days, the fantasy football marathon is going on. They're constantly flashing rankings of different positions. I noticed it while I was on the treadmill for my dad run this morning, and the juices are flowing. Fantasy football talk on the way with Michael F. Florio from NFL Network. That's about 20 minutes or so from now. We will get you set for draft season. I'm sure you have fantasy football drafts in your immediate future, so let's go ahead and get you as fully prepared as we can.
I'm just looking at the rankings right now. They're flashing up. 13th PPR, James Cook.
Not in these parts.
No,
he's top 10 in these parts. The thing called the Bills tax in every local draft that I'm in.
That's why I don't see myself with James Cook, and I don't see myself, quite frankly, with anybody. But in the Superflex League, I'm going to get Josh Allen number 1 overall.
You do have the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah,
that's a no-brainer for you. It's Josh Allen.
Well,
over Lamar, over Burrow.
It's Josh Allen's rushing yards. You can't discount that. Now you could say, well, what about Lamar? Yes, that's true too. Like, you can't go wrong with Josh or Lamar. Right?
Yeah, you're in a good situation. I am in the one spot in another league that is not a super flex, and so now I'm debating on, okay, where is the value to be had between a surefire wide receiver like a Jamar Chase versus a stud running back. I mean, let's face it, you've got 3 or 4 really good options at running back at the start of the draft if you're talking about Gibbs or if you're talking about Bijan. If you think that Saquon is going to do again this upcoming season what he did last season, usually that doesn't happen when a back gets as many touches as Saquon did last year. Very fascinating when you think about how that all shakes out there at the top of the draft. So we'll talk some fantasy football with Michael F. Florio from NFL Network. He's stopping by here in about 20 minutes.
Time for your calls at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. You can write us on X, The Fan Rochester. You also can leave us a comment if you're watching on YouTube and Twitch. I'm picking a game, Danger, where I think this is an easy pick, but I'm just going to tap on the brakes because when it looks too easy, maybe I'm missing something. Each day in this segment, we're going to pick one game from week 1. And do a little slow roll here. Mm-hmm. Today's matchup, we go to Brazil.
Brazil!
Chiefs and Chargers. Friday Night Lights, right? Neutral site. Chiefs favored by 3, which means I guess if this game was at SoFi, it would be considered a pick 'em, although I don't know what the Chargers home field would be worth. But come on. Really? That's it? 3? That's all I have to give up. Under Andy Reid, Kansas City, an opener's Danger, 10-2. Mm-hmm. One of those losses, 2014 against the Titans. Have no recollection of that whatsoever. Pre-Mahomes. Of course, they have the famous one that did me in. By famous, and that's in my own mind. You had the loss.
What was the famous one? What are you talking about?
You don't have that anymore.
I don't know what you're talking about. There was a famous one? What you had a famous pick
The Kansas City boring Chiefs, as I called them, with Andy Reid as the head coach, who knocked us out of Survivor.
Oh, that one.
It's not in the system anymore.
It
It's
isn't?
gone. No.
Are we sure about that?
Nope. Can't find it.
Go ahead, continue.
As you continue to search. The other loss being that loss to the Lions 2 years ago. But the Lions are pretty good, and Chris Jones didn't play in that game. Kansas City, coming off an embarrassing loss in the Super Bowl. They were punched in the mouth by the Eagles.
Oh, hold on.
Ow! 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 It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
There's no suspense this week. We're going to get it out of the way.
There's only one game really.
Friday, we will be crowing. Roll the tape, Mike Danger. Week 1, your pick. Roger Goodell is going to face 80,000 enemies that Thursday night. Can you envision any scenario where the Kansas City boring Chiefs and the Beige Impala go in to Foxborough? It's not happening. You take your best bet week 1 and you let somebody else screw up. You let the Bears nip the Falcons. You let the Browns shock the world. One of those games is going to happen. I'm going to tell you which one's not. That's going to be New England. New England is your week 1 Survivor pick. Book it now. You'll thank me on Friday.
Gene Battaglia.
Man, that is and will forever be one of the highlights of the early days of the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia in our old studio.
That was your nickname for then quarterback Alex Smith, because Alex Smith, as you called him, was the Beige Impala.
Well, credit where due. Tim, our commissioner upstairs here at work, always called Alex Smith a Beige Impala. He's like a Beige Impala of quarterbacks. I'm like, yeah, that sticks. I like that. He, up to that point in his career, he was kind of just pedestrian. He got good with the Niners there, but, injuries and, yeah, he's just kind of boring. He's just a Beige Impala. And that was the year that it was a Kareem Hunt. It was Kareem Hunt's rookie year.
Yeah, and he puts the ball on the turf, but Andy Reid goes right back to him.
Yeah.
And Hunt helps him win that game. The Patriots actually take the lead in the fourth quarter. I'm thinking, okay, I'm safe here. And it was then that I knew, we do have people listening to our show, because everybody made sure, like, you lost. I took your advice.
Yeah. Well, at that time, the Patriots were still full dynasty mode, right? I mean, like, Brady was still there. It was still, like, they were the defending champs.
They were raising the banner that night, and that was the year after Deflategate. The year after. So the reference of, 80,000
Roger
fans.
Goodell,
that was the, Barstool and the Clown Nose T-shirts, all that was going on at the time.
I'm sorry. I interrupted with breaking news. I apologize,
I knew,
Gene.
Look, I asked for it.
You're riffing.
I challenged you. I'm like, you're not going to find
You're
it.
riffing. I know where we're going with this pick, by the way, already. But go ahead. Continue to lay
how do you
out.
pick against the Chiefs? And you're only getting 3. And I'm not a Chiefs lover. Understand that.
Yeah.
But that's where I'm saying, like, how can you pick against Kansas City in this matchup against the Chargers, Danger, in week 1? And Andy Reid, I'm not putting my money against Reid and Mahomes here week 1. Chargers, not the pick. I'm picking the Chiefs to lay the 3.
I think the only justification for that narrow spread is that the gap between the Chiefs, the haves, and the have-nots in the division has narrowed some. And I think Jim Harbaugh, entering his second year here, has done a lot more in a short amount of time to get that team more into his image and likeness and get them playing the kind of football that could potentially make that franchise a winner again. All I needed to see was Mike Williams reporting for Chargers camp and leaving after a day to know Harbaugh's not messing around. Like, Williams went there and he's like, nope, this is not the training camp I remember. These are not the workouts that I was accustomed to when I was here the first time around. So knowing that has narrowed a little bit makes me want to justify the narrow point spread, but I'm with you. I need to see it. Like, I know we saw what we saw during the Super Bowl, and that was the Chiefs get embarrassed. But I'm not going to say that the Chiefs are falling, that they're not a playoff team, that Patrick Mahomes still isn't one of the best quarterbacks in the league, that Andy Reid is no longer a good head coach. No, all of those things are false. So I got to go Chiefs -3. Yes. And on a neutral site in Brazil, weird things can happen, sure. But it's Chiefs for me in that game.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
So we're now through 2. One agreement, one disagreement.
Yeah.
Yesterday, we start off with Patriots, Raiders, and split on that
And speaking
one.
of the Patriots, they're the team that did us in last year for Survivor football, too. The Patriots,
Yeah.
I mean, the Bengals can't be trusted because we picked the Bengals to beat the Patriots. The Patriots beat the Bengals. It was week 1.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible. What were we thinking?
There's really going to be no suspense here for like us picking week 1 Survivor football. I mean, things can change over time, but all arrows are pointing to take the Broncos at home over the rookie quarterback in Tennessee.
That would make a lot of sense. That's the widest spread on the board right now.
It is, yeah.
Broncos at home. It's a non-divisional game. A rookie quarterback against Sean Payton. Yeah, I think I'm going to go Broncos on that one. That makes a lot of sense.
Just get by week 1.
But then week 2, week 2, we're talking about, Bo Nix, book it now. You can thank me. Bo Nix goes out and throws 6 interceptions. We come back that Monday with a new version. A new version of your Survivor pick gaff.
I feel like this has to be a redemption year for me personally in Survivor. It's been a minute since we got to December. This has to be the year we have to redeem ourselves, have to earn your trust back.
Okay. I feel likewise about fantasy football this year. For me, there have been distractions, other distractions. Sports wagering mainly has been a distraction.
Oh, all right.
And this year, I'm not saying I'm not going to do any wagering, but I am going to put a little bit more emphasis on fantasy football. I'm excited for it. I'm doing my prep. I'm doing my mock drafts. I'm naming my teams. and I can't wait. I can't wait for that first draft. I can't wait to hear the chimes. I can't wait to get going. It's going to be fun. That's why we have Michael F. Florio joining us here in a couple few, and we'll talk some more fantasy football. Michael F. Florio from NFL Network.
Just so everybody knows, Danger's name isn't graphic. It's not dirty. It's just so way inside.
It's inside, and I think maybe inside to the point where, what would you say, maybe 7 of the 12 teams would know what I'm talking about in our league.
Huh. Yeah.
There might be a few that are like, I don't even know what that is. I don't even know what he's talking about. What is that? Who is that? What is that? Yeah. What are we doing? But everybody else, I think, will get it.
One of the other names, and this is like the thing when we get to the part. Did you see the other one? Shador is full.
I like that one. A little Christmas vacation reference there. Yeah. That's new guy in our league.
New guy. Don't know his
Tim.
name.
I think it's Tim. Another Tim. Just what we needed. More Tims. But I think
it's like your neighborhood needs more Tonys.
Yeah, that's right. The League of Extraordinary Tims. That's a good way to win your way into the league, though. Win over the hearts. Good, clever name. Shador was full. It's good. James Cook has ended his hold-in, or at least apparently in returning to practice today. Whether that means the hold-in is officially over.
I think you hit it on the head. Like, if we're talking about conversations and it doesn't sound really positive, at some point where we're saying, what is the real deadline? Maybe for the Bills, the deadline was now, meaning, hey, we need you to be out there doing football things so we're not suffering some of these other things that we see typically week 1, week 2 at training camp, soft tissue things. Like, that's what you got to mitigate against if you're Sean McDermott and his staff. We have to get you back out there. And look, you can point to, hey, by the CBA, you could be fine. So your call, James. What do you want to do?
The Bills had the right to fine him the moment he stopped practicing. They could have fined him for not playing on Saturday. I don't think they have. I don't think they would, but they could. And because of the CBA and the way it's set up, the Bills could have blocked him from receiving an accrued season toward free agency for failing to perform his contract services for the team for a material period of time. So and so that would have screwed up his availability for free agency as soon as next season. I don't know what lever Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott pulled to get him back on the field, but I think him back on the field is great news for the team. I don't necessarily think they need to give him an extension for this to be a good season for James Cook.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see it play out and hope that, he didn't want to talk after practice. I think that's understandable because his tactic failed. And I don't even know that it's his tactic, right? I think we all kind of assume that he's just getting bad advice from his representation. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
How does the end of the story go here? Does the running back market just get so crazy that this time next year he's playing for somebody else and he's getting the $15 million?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah. I really think
that would be a crime if he's got 15. If I'm Saquon, I'm like, okay, you got to renegotiate here.
Well, I have a vision in my head of James Cook replicating, if not exceeding, his production from last season. Even more efficient? Is that possible? Could he be even more efficient in 2025 than he was last season? I mean, less than 50% of the snaps, great yards per carry, tied for the league lead in touchdowns, rushing touchdowns. I mean, I feel like that's the kind of season that he's capable of, and that's the kind of season that'll get him what he wants.
It's also the representation. And the only thing you can point to, and it's not apples to apples, is the Jordan Poyer story. And Jordan Poyer wanted a new contract, and at the end of it, he didn't get it, but they sprinkled in some incentives. Like, you made the representation Rosenhaus. It's a little bit of a win. He got his client more money. Not that everyone was happy, but, hey, you're here another year. I don't even think that something like that is possible. Like, if you're Brandon Beane, you do that for a veteran at the end of his career. I don't think you do that for James Cook.
No, and you win championships when you have a roster that's built on value. And James Cook, look, I'm for every player getting what they deserve. James Cook is an unbelievable value this year for the Buffalo Bills. And he was a great value last year for the Buffalo Bills. They're in the AFC Championship game. Remember last year we were talking about how much dead cap money the Bills were carrying? They had James Cook, playing for peanuts and producing like that. That's part of the reason why. I mean, you get a great value and a bunch of those great values, and they have a couple on their roster right now. I think when you look at the play of Osiris Torrance, clearly
he's going to get paid.
Yeah, he's going to get paid, so he's a value this year. So good news for the Bills. Good news for Josh Allen and Sean McDermott, who I'm sure are tired of talking about will he or won't he. James Cook back on the practice field today.
Yeah. So tomorrow practice in Orchard Park. Thursday travel day. Friday joint practices. How will Mike Danger be Friday here in the sports bar when we're getting reports on Caleb Williams? And here was the thing. You were asking some of the national guys that were coming through, just tell me how Caleb Williams looked.
Yeah.
Consensus
wasn't good. No, two guys that were fresh from Bears camp when we were at Bills camp. Jim Miller, former Bears quarterback from NFL Radio, and Albert Breer from NFL Network. No, I'm sorry. Where's Albert Breer? He's with MMQB.
Yes.
MMQB. Sorry. So both gentlemen said, no, he don't look good. He don't look good. He don't look like he commanded the offense. Didn't look like Tyson Bagent looked better than Caleb. And I'm like, oh God. I was like, this is not good. This kid. Here's where I'm at right now. And I know that there's a lot of people saying, why didn't Caleb Williams play in the preseason? Week 1 preseason. Caleb Williams, only a second-year player, needs to play in the preseason. Why isn't he playing? Here's where I'm at. I'm divorcing myself from any Caleb Williams emotion right now, and I'm focusing solely on the idea that the Bears have a new head coach. His name is Ben Johnson. He's the hotshot coordinator that everybody that was looking for a coach wanted. He's the guy that everybody in Chicago wanted. They got their guy. And I'm going to put a little bit of faith and a little bit of stock in the fact that they got their guy. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to turn out well for me, but for now, I'm going to trust what he's doing and how he's doing it, and that it's going to work out in terms of what's best for the team.
I would trust in the fact that Johnson turns down, and again, maybe there's home situation, maybe there's other circumstances, but he could have signed up for Jaden Daniels in Washington and been the head coach there. And no, that wasn't Daniel Snyder. He's gone by that point. You're working with a new owner. He didn't choose that. Why?
He liked Chicago.
Yeah, that
He likes Chicago.
Right.
He wanted to be in Chicago.
And you therefore are choosing the quarterback too.
That's right.
So what has happened with Caleb Williams?
It might have just been a bad day. Like, I really don't know. It might have just been a bad day because I've seen highlights of Caleb Williams at camp where it's like, okay, that looks good.
Here's my take, and I don't know if this is accurate, and maybe it's a little reckless on my part, but the way Caleb Williams sometimes looks, sometimes comes off,
presents himself,
it seems like his emotional IQ needs a little bit of work, and at the quarterback position, you can't afford that.
Yeah, if you're referencing the clip where he has the tantrum when he's throwing the football to the net.
That's one thing. There were a couple things at USC too, and those were the red flags.
I just didn't see it last season, Gino. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I can't deny that those things are a part of his past, but I didn't see that last season. A horrific season where he had no leadership, no coaching, no guidance. I mean, really, like everything bad about Chicago that he heard coming into the league was true.
Okay.
And he had to live through it.
Fair enough, but what didn't they have in Chicago last year? Expectations. You don't have any expectations last year as compared to this year.
Well, you had expectations when you started the season the way you started the season because they started the season hot. Expectations were high when they started the season the way they started the season. And then everything went to hell. The Washington game ruined them. Ruined the team. It ruined them. And you knew after that, I'm like,
they're done.
They're done. They're done. There's no way they're. And through it all, I would say Caleb Williams actually handled himself more professionally than other guys in that locker room did. He was a pro.
Okay.
So I can't wait to see how it all looks. I'm divorcing myself from the Caleb Williams emotion, and I'm trying to really just center myself on, hey, is Ben Johnson as good as everybody says he is, and is he going to show it, and are we going to see it through the development of Caleb Williams? And given the Bears' schedule, we'll be able to tell before the bye week how it looks. There's 4 very winnable games before they hit their bye week where we'll be able to tell if Ben Johnson's made an impact on Caleb Williams, and you know, it remains to be seen if we'll see him on Sunday night against the Bills. I think that would be a lot of fun. I would love to see it. I don't need to see Josh Allen. We don't need to see Josh Allen, right? We were all telling ourselves that that's something that, you know, if he sat the entire preseason, that would be good. But Caleb Williams, I think, certainly could use the reps, but I'm going to trust Ben Johnson and how he manages through that situation. Okay, this is not a Bears show.
No, but they are the opponent this week, so it's relevant.
And we are going to talk to Mark Grody, who is our Bears insider at our Odyssey Sports sister station, 670 The Score in Chicago, on Thursday for a little preview of the joint practice on Friday, a little preview of Sunday night's preseason game. We shift gears and talk fantasy football next with our buddy Michael F. Florio from NFL Network. And I'm sure he has some thoughts on James Cook's return to practice as well. We'll dive into it next on The Fan.
Sports Update.
Back at practice for the Buffalo Bills today, running back James Cook. Although it's unknown if the hold-in is permanently off. Josh Allen talking about those upcoming joint practices against the Chicago Bears.
You get the opportunity to see new looks, go against different guys. The number one thing, again, I think everyone kind of knows about these types of practices. Sometimes they can get a little chippy, and we're not looking to go out there and fight, but we're going out there to compete and get those competitive juices flowing, and that's very fun for me.
Bills and Bears, 6 o'clock Sunday for our coverage here on The Fan. We will talk to Michael F. Florio from the NFL Network. Some fantasy football coming your way next year in the Sports Bar. Rochester Red Wings play their first home game of the month of August tonight. Syracuse, the opponent. The Yankees looking to make it 2 in a row against the Twins. Carlos Rodon starting for the Bombers. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
We are preparing you for the best fantasy football season you've had your entire life. Redraft leagues have their drafts coming up. If you haven't had them already, we welcome in Michael F. Florio from NFL Network, who I know just completed a draft in a Superflex league. And Mike, if I'm not mistaken, this is a league where you have a couple of trophies here over the last few years. And I couldn't help but notice in this Superflex draft that you were in, you waited until round 3 to get your first quarterback. I'm curious, was that part of your strategy, or was that just the way the board fell to you in this league?
It was actually round 4 until I took my first quarterback.
Really?
And that wasn't my strategy going in. I will say this, after the top 5, I think the group is so big behind that you could wait until round 3 and double dip there. I pushed it a little bit further because I know the group of people that I was drafting with, and a lot of the times when you get a lot of people who do this for a living, quarterbacks tend to fall a little bit in one quarterback leagues especially, but in Superflex as well. And a couple of weeks ago, this league that I'm in, there's different divisions and stuff, and one of the divisions was a Superflex, and no quarterback went after Mahomes in round 2, and that's exactly what happened today. So I did think that I played it right by pushing QB down a bit, but I will say if you're doing a regular home league Superflex, I wouldn't push it to round 4. I'm okay with maybe going running back, wide receiver, or 2 wide receivers if you want to start that way. But by round 3, I typically will grab a quarterback. Although if I was in the first half of the draft and I could get one of the big 5 being Allen, Lamar, Jaden, Burrow, or Hurts, I would have taken one of them for sure.
Well, Michael, I guess kind of a follow up. Let's take it beyond just the super flex, because the quarterback position in itself, if you don't get one of those top guys, I mean, every year we might get kind of a quarterback middle of the pack, but just becomes a stat compiler. I remember Jameis Winston a few years ago. There's been countless examples. Which quarterbacks, if you were to wait, would you feel comfortable plugging in? What are some options about waiting at quarterback here?
My personal favorite, and Bills fans might not like this because he's a division rival, but I love Justin Fields because he's a cheat code. Look, he might not be one of the best quarterbacks in real life, but we know in fantasy those running quarterbacks get those extra points. And after the top 5, there's such a big group of quarterbacks that I think could finish in any kind of order, depending on how things break. So I look for upside. Because you could get a safe floor, like C.J. Stroud is going super late this year. Justin Herbert, you could get a few rounds after the top guys. So, I think you could find safety throughout your draft at the quarterback position. So why not go for upside? And that's why I love Justin Fields. But I do think Patrick Mahomes is someone who we could expect a bounce-back year statistically from. Bo Nix is a sneaky option because of all the running we saw him do last year. They added more weapons there. I like Caleb Williams. I really like Drake May as a talent. My only concern is how much are they going to throw. But one quarterback, the one that I took today actually in the 4th round, Kyler Murray, I think we are making Kyler pay for not living up to our lofty expectations last year when everyone was making him a top 5 quarterback and stuff. He finished 10th. He averaged 17.5 fantasy points per game. That was a career low. But if that's your career low, he's been great for years in fantasy. He's got good weapons around him. He ran more than ever last year. I think maybe he's not going to be top 5 like we thought he was last year, but I got him as the QB 12 today. He feels like a lock to be top 10, so I think Kyler is another good fallback option.
Okay, hear me out, because this guy probably isn't in the top 20 of quarterbacks, but I feel like he ended last season with some strength. I feel like they added some more weapons to his arsenal, and I feel like he's got a pretty good coach who's working with him in Dave Canales. Is Bryce Young being slept on in any way, shape, or form?
Yes, he is, and I'm happy you asked this because as you were setting up the question, I was like, he's going to ask me about Bryce Young. I agree with you. I think that Bryce Young is being underrated right now. Not to the point that you made, one, with Dave Canales. I think he is an underrated coach. 2, they added Tetero McMillan, who is going to be the unquestioned top target there. But also, watching him play Friday night, he looks like a different person. He was in charge of that offense. He's scrambling to his right, telling Coker to run to the left and hitting him in stride. It was insanely impressive. But what I don't think people realize is once he became the starter again last season, he averaged 18 fantasy points per game. That actually jumped to almost 21 per game from week 11 on, which was more than Jalen Hurts and Mahomes and Kyler Murray. And that was because he was running more. He had a 2-touchdown rushing game. Yeah, I don't expect that. But he often was running for 50, 60 yards. And to me, it felt like something clicked. Like, he is starting to look more and more like the quarterback that we saw in Alabama. And I won't lie, I was very high on him as a prospect because of what he could do with his legs and everything. I think it just took some growing pains and some adjusting to the NFL. Plus, it was a pretty terrible situation he was drafted into. Then he had the plug pulled on him pretty early last year. Once he was kind of comfortable in Dave Canales' system, he looked like a different quarterback. And now he's got even better weapons and a go-to guy. So someone that you only have to draft as a QB2, a low-end one at that. But I do think he is underrated, and I think he could surprise this season.
Michael F. Florio, our guest, fantasy expert, as you're based in Los Angeles now, and you were actually at Rams camp earlier here. And wow, not only in fantasy terms, but in real football, this is I think it's a pretty big story. Like, what is going on with Matthew Stafford? And you hear the word epidural. I've never heard that in a football context. So, but then again, this is, Michael, a team that traditionally doesn't play anybody in the preseason. So, what's your level of concern right now for Matthew Stafford?
I am starting to get pretty concerned. I last week on a lot of shows I was saying, look, the Rams are saying he's going to practice next week. If that happens, I don't care. He's a veteran. He knows this system. I'd rather him be healthy week 1 than get, reps early in August. But McVay came out and said yesterday was going to be the day that Stafford returns to practice. And instead of that happening, he went into some spaceship-looking thing to get treatment done on his back. That is concerning for a guy who has a history of back issues and is 37 years old. So, yeah, I wish I knew more. That the Rams are being kind of tight-lipped with this, but it is certainly the closer and closer we get to the season with this going on, the more concerning it is. I will say this, though. I'm more concerned for Devontae Adams than Puka Nacua because, 1, Puka already has the chemistry with Stafford, and 2, if you go to a backup quarterback, someone like Jimmy G, Puka is a guy that you could generate touches for and will win after the catch, where Devontae isn't so much that. He's more like timing, being at the right spot at the right time, and being a threat in the red zone. You're going to score less touchdowns without Matthew Stafford. But, yeah, so I find myself getting lower and lower on Devontae Adams just because I don't want to use a high pick on someone that I'm not sure if his quarterback's going to be out there.
Michael Florio from NFL Network. We're talking some fantasy football in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Mike, round one is where you want your sure thing. You don't want to be gambling or taking risks early in the draft. And at the front of the draft, typically you've got a combination of Chase and Barkley and Gibbs and Robinson. And I am trying to figure out exactly where we can minimize the most risk. I feel as if I've heard a steady drumbeat of Saquon can't do that again this year. I know what Bijan was at the end of last year. Jamar Chase feels like as sure a thing as you could get at wide receiver. Talk about that first half of your draft there with the best players being on the board and available for everybody.
Yeah, I think Jamar Chase is the unquestioned 101 this year. And typically I like to be the guy that's like, there's other options at one besides the consensus, but I would not take anyone over Jamar Chase this year. Not only is he coming off of a Triple Crown season and the fourth most fantasy points ever by a wide receiver, he's tied to a good offense with a really good quarterback. And that defense just got cooked by Tanner McKee, which tells me that the Bengals are going to have to be throwing a bunch. None of their investments this offseason went to the defense. Hendrickson is still up in the air, so he's my one. After that, I like Bijan or CeeDee Lamb. I know a lot of people would go Justin Jefferson, but I think we get more CeeDee Lamb in the slot. I think Bijan is a prime candidate to have a Saquon-esque season this year. He's got the talent now. He's in the right system and everything. After that, I like Gibbs more than Saquon. I would put Jefferson there. Then I do think that is the range where you want to take Saquon, but I'll be honest, I don't really find myself being that guy to take him often because, one, you're paying for a career year, and I get it, the thinking of, like, he doesn't have to do that again to live up to an early round pick. As long as he's one of the best players this season, who cares? But everything to me seemingly went right for the Eagles last year. They were the run-heaviest offense in years. Saquon stayed healthy. The big plays went his way. But what doesn't get accounted for a lot is he didn't have a lot of pass game usage. So I think that is something that you can't really rely on anymore. But then he had over 100 touches more than any other season, played later. So it kind of gives me concern. But I do think that is your top six, right? Your top three wide receivers and your top three running backs. That is more often than not going to be the first half of every draft.
Where do you see value in drafting Christian McCaffrey?
Well, if you want him, you better be prepared to use a first-round pick on him. I a couple months ago was like second-round pick, all about it. I'm seeing him go routinely in the first round. In fact, I've seen a lot of people. I was in Canton, Ohio, at the NFL Hall of Fame this week for the Fantasy Football Expo, and there was a lot of drafts going on there. He was going routinely in the middle of the first round, sometimes as early as RB4 behind the big three. I can't necessarily take him there. I have him ranked as my RB7 because I still think Derrick Henry, look, he might not have the ceiling of CMC, but it's not too far behind, and the floor is so much safer. But I also love Devon Achane. I have him as my RB4 this year. So CMC is someone that I don't expect to have a ton of, only because he's getting pulled higher and higher. But I get it. He's not going to have a season where he finishes as like RB15. He's either going to stay healthy and be a top 5 running back, or he's going to miss time and be like the RB60 on the season. So it just depends if you want to roll your dice and chase that ceiling.
Let's react, Michael, to week 1 of the preseason. Yeah, like Shador Sanders. Hey, that was exciting. We got a long way to go, but gosh, like if you have a spot, why not stash him? Am I overreacting here a little bit?
It's hard to stash him in one QB leagues because you could instead take a quarterback like Cam Ward, who also has upside, but we know is going to play, or Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. But in like a super flex, I have no problem throwing that dart. I've taken him in like dynasty leagues in my rookie drafts from, a couple months ago, like 3rd, 4th round. He was my QB2 in this class. I think he fell to the 5th round for non-football reasons. But as someone who has been rooting for him and supporting him and liked him as a prospect, felt a little vindicated on Friday, because not only, like, there's the highlight throws, right? Like the deep ball he threw, the touchdown passes. But when you watched him play, like, he was poised in the pocket. He was moving around and using his legs. The touch and the placement on some of his throws was.
We got you, Mike?
Hey, sorry about that. I think my phone cut out for a second.
Yeah,
but,
we got you. Okay.
Yeah, Shedeur, he looked great, and I don't see any reason. I keep saying it. If I'm the Browns, start him, right? Like, you're going to start Joe Flacco probably and then move on to one of your young kids or just – you're not competing this year. See what you have your young quarterback.
Michael LaFlorio from NFL Network, our guest in the Sports Bar. And it was a year ago, Michael, that we I think first had you in the Sports Bar. And I remember you beating the drum steadily for Isaiah Pacheco last year at this time. And in every mock draft that I've done so far this season, I see him available later in rounds. And I'm curious. The Chiefs have always been an offense that I think you want to stake a claim into. You want to invest in that offense. Or has that changed? We've seen Mahomes kind of fall off a little bit statistically. Pacheco didn't get to 1,000 yards. He had injuries last year, but they didn't have a 1,000-yard receiver in that offense as well. Have they adopted this everybody eats mentality that kind of worked in Buffalo as well last season? And are there reliable assets in the Kansas City offense going into this year?
I think they were forced to adapt to that mantra because Pacheco went down in week 2. Rashee Rice, it was like week 4 or 5. He got taken out by Patrick Mahomes. Marquise Brown was taken from us before the season even started. And then Xavier Worthy was a rookie. And the Chiefs are very much so like the Bills. They don't like to put their rookies too much on their rookies' plates early on. And they like to kind of slow walk them. I think this year the Chiefs are a good opportunity to find value because – one, Matt Nagy has already come out and been very vocal saying they need to get the deep ball back in their game. Last year, of quarterbacks who attempted 400 passes, Mahomes had the lowest air yard per attempt. Imagine if they had Josh Allen throwing nothing but screen passes. That's what the Chiefs offense kind of became last year because they had no one healthy. Their guys are back this year. I think it creates a buying opportunity for them. Except for Rashee Rice, he has the highest ceiling of them all, but we got to see what this suspension is going to look like. It adds a little unknown. But I'm all about Isaiah Pacheco because last season it was a 2-game sample size, but in those 2 games he was on pace for 1,600 yards, 60 catches, and like double-digit touchdowns. He got hurt. He fractured his fibula. That is an injury that takes about a year to come back from so you look like yourself. He tried to be the hero and come back and be there for the playoffs, but he clearly wasn't the same guy. And he himself came out and was like, yeah, I lost weight. I wasn't in my playing shape and everything. But at camp right now, they're talking him up, saying he looks like his old self again. And remember, this happened with Tony Pollard. He fractured his fibula in January, and it took him about a half a year, that next season, about half the year to get back to form. Pacheco hurt his so early and has already had the time to come back that I think he's once again going to look like Isaiah Pacheco from 2 years ago and maybe even better with more pass game usage. But everyone has the guy in mind that we saw last, and they're hesitant to buy back into that. People are hyping up Rashad Smith, who, look, I like him. He could be Jerick McKinnon 2.0, but he's a 7th-round pick who's running with the third team right now. I'm not passing on Isaiah Pacheco for a third-string running back right now.
Michael F. Florio, last one for me, and we got to ask you a Bills question because, after all, you've got a new pod with Stevie Johnson, buddy. How's that going?
Oh, it's been going great. We actually just recorded our 2nd episode today, and on that episode, I'm going to give you guys a little sneak peek right now. Stevie has a bold call of who he thinks is going to be the Bills' top receiver this year. He doesn't think it's Khalil Shakir. He doesn't think it's Keon Coleman. He thinks it's going to be Josh Palmer. And I'm about taking Josh Palmer as a late-round flyer in fantasy. I like taking Keon Coleman, Shakir. None of the Bills' receivers are going into the single-digit rounds right now.
Yeah.
So I think all of them are good values. But, yeah, if you want to check out the pod, it's called Bills Banter with Stevie Johnson and Michael F. Florio. Episode 2 will be out by tomorrow. And we're just going to keep having fun this year. It's never a dull moment when you're getting to talk with Stevie.
No, I mean, you get a lot of personality between you and Stevie Johnson. That's a pod worth checking out for sure. And I'm sure you're talking a lot of Bills. And today, James Cook back in practice. Is James Cook somebody that's a little bit undervalued in your opinion here? I know in our parts there's a Bills tax, so where he might be a second-round back for a lot of people, he might still be going in the first round around these parts.
Some drafts he goes in the third or fourth round because everyone wants wide receivers. Look, I don't have James Cook as like one of the top backs, but he is rock solid. If you could wait and get him as your RB1, you could feel great about that because I know people are worried with the hold-in and stuff. He knows the offense. It's the same coordinator, same quarterback, same O-line, same everything. He just had 18 touchdowns last year, and we saw in the playoffs, they're not afraid to give him the ball a bunch. They just don't always have to early in the year with the depth that they have, which some people hold against them. But look, I had James Cook in a number of leagues last year, and he helped me win them. So I'm not shying away from taking him. But if you go like running back in the first round or second round, you could potentially get James Cook as your RB2 and still have two stud wide receivers. So, yeah, I know in your guys' parts he's going to get taxed up a bit, but in the rest of the country, he is a steal right now in fantasy.
Michael F. Florio, NFL Network, the Florio football show, and check out the new pod with Stevie Johnson. Michael, always great talking to you during such a busy time of the year.
Appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoy Hard Knocks tonight, and go Bills.
You got it. There he is, Michael F. Florio. Oh, we didn't tell him that we believe a 2% chance of making tonight's episode.
I say 10.
Yeah, I'm not as optimistic as you.
All right, my nephew.
I'll give him a 3%.
3%.
Yeah, we're at 2%. He's 3%, and Buffalo Plus is 4%. Catalana's backyard is 4%. But I'm not high on our prospects. I think when you have 300 hours of footage, you could probably find something more compelling than us two dopes asking Joe Andreessen questions about his past.
I'm just hoping because we're not dressing for the camera or anything like that. I just don't look, if it does happen, we're not looking all
we look like radio guys. What do they say? Face for radio. Yup.
That's it.
Had never heard that one before. Boy, you nailed it. That's us. Derek the Pizza Dude bust into the studio before our last segment.
Well, look, I didn't know, is this a football story? Is it not? It was broken on a podcast with a very well-known football player. You could say it's one of the best, most popular podcasts. You've heard that your fan there, Taylor Swift, has a new album, correct?
Yeah. This is a global story. This is a global headline.
Okay, I figured. Yeah.
I'd have to be living under a rock to not know that there's
As a regional brand manager for stations in Rochester, New Orleans, and Virginia, you know this.
Yeah, I heard. And I saw the clip of her holding up the strategically placed blurred album cover. And, boy, Swifties everywhere have to be excited. What Pizza Dude shared with us, though, is interesting. And there is a sports connection to it that we'll get to in Happy Hour.
There is. It has to do with the name of the album.
We got a recap of today's practice as well. And, yes, if you're just joining us, James Cook back on the practice field for the Buffalo Bills. Happy Hour is on the way, and we have plenty of time for your calls if you want to join us at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326.
You're listening to 100 leader. This is The Fan Rochester. WROC-AM, WBEE HD2 Rochester. And streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester. Sports Update.
James Cook back at practice today for the Buffalo Bills wearing a Guardian cap. There's still some mystery surrounding all of this in regards to where we're going with this story. Head coach Sean McDermott.
You know, our young players, but same with anyone on our roster, you get a chance to get into a intense, highly competitive environment. It's not a game, but it's about as close to a game as you could get. And so that experience is invaluable.
McDermott talking about the upcoming joint practices against the Bills and Bears. Coming up on Friday. We'll have the coverage Sunday for the game beginning at 6 here on the Fan Rochester. The Wings back home tonight. It's the first home game of the month of August as Syracuse will be the opponent. Jays taking on the Cubs. The Yankees sending Carlos Rodon to the mound against the Twins. The Mets are home against the Braves. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, the Fan Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
What did I say yesterday at this time, Yankee fans? Yankee fans, specifically. What did I say yesterday at this time? Sometimes when you're in a rut, you're feeling down, you're feeling like you can't get any worse, can't get any lower than what you are. You just need a slump buster. You need a little slump buster in your life. Enter the Minnesota Twins. If you can't get over on the Twins, then it's time to wear the paper bags. Then it's time to panic. I wouldn't be panicked right now. You beat the Twins last night. You go for 2 in a row here against the Twins with Rodon going on the mound tonight. Things are going to turn around here for the Yankees.
Since 2002, the Yankees are 124-44. They're now 80 games above 500 against the Twins.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's ownership.
Come here.
That is ownership. The Twins can't get over on the Yankees. They don't get over on the Yankees. And who knows? Maybe this slump buster leads to bigger and better things and a little bit of momentum here as we wind up the Major League Baseball season, and we welcome you back into the sports bar. It is happy hour. Danger and Battaglia. We're glad you're with us at 95.7 FM and AM 950. You can find us in the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, tune in. You can watch us. Our stream is up and live on Twitch and our Facebook channel at The Fan Rochester. Like and subscribe while you are there. We were talking fantasy football with Michael LeFlorio, and when I was asking him about Isaiah Pacheco and owning shares of what we thought was a very productive offense, I omitted a name intentionally. He's now on the cover of GQ magazine. And the media blitz is happening. It's all coordinated. It's all calculated. It's all happening at once. And to go with, not if that's not vomit-inducing enough, on the podcast, there's Travis Kelce with Taylor Swift.
And she's going to do him the solid of solids where she's going to announce her new album on her boyfriend's pod. My goodness.
The businesswoman the business person in me is wildly, insanely jealous of her because this is the latest in like a long line of just moves. I mean, tour aside. And, you know, you could say what you want about her as a performer. You could say what you want about the tour. Like, she could solve a lot of problems with the wealth she's accumulated through a lot of hard work, but also through just business decisions. Her getting her catalog back a couple of months ago was something that nobody talked about. Today, everybody's talking about the new album release. But a couple of months ago, when she got back her original recordings, nobody talked about that. Why? Because she made money off of it. She made more money off of playing the victim. Oh, my original recordings. Everybody go out and buy Taylor's version of everything that I've done so far.
And then okay. And
all for what?
All for what?
All for what? She ended up getting it back anyways. That aside, the new album, which I don't know the release date. I know she kind of was sketchy and vague with her details, and everything with her is a game
I can
and,
look it up
and cryptic and it has to do around the number 13 because it's her favorite lucky number and blah blah blah. But the name of the album, Derek the Pizza Dude bust open the door before our Florio segment, and he's like, "Did you see?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know it's a global headline, but does it have a sports connection?" Well, it does.
You didn't know this.
Have a sports connection.
So the name of the album, and you have to be a certain age. Let's just kind of put this right out there. If you're 21, this is going to go, pew. Maybe not. Her new album is called Danger, The Life of a Showgirl. Okay. Now, if you were around in the 1990s, let me tell you a story about a movie that came out.
Well, let's go rewind it back a little further for the millennials that are listening that grew up on a afternoon television program very wildly popular called Saved by the Bell. Everybody's heard of Saved by the Bell. Now it's a little before a little after my time, right? I never really truly got into Saved by the Bell, but if you're just below Generation X, if you're millennial, chances are that was required viewing for your youth. And one of the stars of Saved by the Bell, it was wholesome and it was wholesome. It was innocent. Well, one of the innocent, wholesome actresses on Saved by the Bell grew up, took a role in a film called Showgirls,
which was about Vegas performers.
It got her a lot of attention. Got her a lot of eyeballs. I mean, it was as scandalous as you could imagine. I mean, this is somebody we grew up watching on a kids' TV show, and now she's stripping on this movie. And is it a X-rated movie? Is it NC-17 or rated R? What is it? Wait, Elizabeth Berkley has lost her mind. Showgirls, this movie. And by the way, the movie itself is terrible. It's not a good movie.
Is there a plot to it?
It's just not a good movie. Poorly written, poorly acted. You really just kind of watching it because all of the hype around. As a guy, you're watching it because of all the hype. Oh, it's Elizabeth Berkley, man. Elizabeth Berkley. Yeah, let's go see. And I think I watched it once, and I'm like, okay, that was a really, really bad movie. I don't need to ever watch that again. But the sports angle, Gino.
Well, you didn't know this.
No.
So, and you can figure this out where I'm going with this. What year did Showgirls come out?
Oh, boy. That would have been, it was late 90s, wasn't it?
Mid-90s.
Mid-90s.
1995, to be exact.
Okay, 1995 would have had me in the heart of Minnesota doing radio, and that would have meant that Saved by the Bell, she was probably off that show for a good 3-4 years at that point, I would imagine.
So 1995, what happened in 94? Oh, there was something we were captivated for in 1995, and then finally we got a verdict in October 1995.
Oh.
So this lines up with the release date of Showgirls. It happens to be the same week as the OJ jury comes back, delivers their verdict, and as the story goes, what did Uncle Juice want to do the first thing he got out of the slammer?
He wanted to see some boobies.
He went, and he wanted to go see this movie he heard so much about.
Well, Gene, you know your Uncle Juice.
Got it, Juice. When Chris and I broke up, the Juice was there for me every night. It's like he's not really the Juice anymore. We gotta get you dressed, Juice. Juice, a will? Juice. Come on, Juice. Juice, it's AC. Juice! AC's here! Juice, I heard Juice. It's on every channel. You know I feel the same, Juice. You're gonna tell them yourself, Juice. Juice, your whole family's here, Juice. She's on the house phone waiting to talk to you, Juice. Juice. Okay, Juice? Okay, Juice, we're good to go. You're home, Juice. You know Uncle Juice, and your Uncle Juice is a
good man.
Your Uncle Juice is a good man. He's never going to stop being the Juice. It could explain a lot, Juice. Just hear him out, Juice. He's right, Juice. Listen, Juice. Juice, this is your life. Juice, please, Juice. Juice, we need an answer.
Yeah, I told you there was a sports connection, and don't ever give me a reason to play every instance of David Schwimmer as Robert Kardashian saying the word juice in The People versus O.J. Simpson, because I'll take it.
The Taylor Swift's attorneys are going to be calling you and I because we have just connected Taylor Swift to O.J. Simpson.
Pizza Dude made a great point. What if hashtag Showgirls all of a sudden
lifts this movie up.
is trending, and a whole generation of Swifties looks it up and watches it in disgust and horror? Yeah, that would be fun. Oh, here come the regulars on X, including Chuck Munchiapet. Showgirls is a horrible movie. Worst take of the year. I said what I said. It's not a great movie. Poorly acted, poorly written. Yeah, I mean, look, you pervert, if you're into it just for the full frontal, I suppose. Great movie. Not a good movie. Greg, come on now.
Chris is taking this next level. Taylor Swift announcing the breakup album on her boyfriend's podcast is a new level of evil. I don't know the content in this album. You've probably reviewed. Oh, wait. You're going to get into trouble if you review that, Mike Danger.
I don't know the album. I haven't heard anything. Here's what I will say. She seems like she's been in a pretty good place the last few years. She's been steady. There hasn't been a breakup. There hasn't been a rumor. There hasn't been any signs of infidelity.
Nobody had it going this long.
So is this album not going to be a breakup album? Is this album going to be puppy dogs and ice cream? I think it is.
Boring.
Right.
Boring.
Nobody wants that. So, yeah, you might be onto something, Chris. Maybe we can expect a breakup before week one.
This is next level.
Just in time for the album release. To help boost the sales, a little bit more publicity.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Like dating, we're kind of done with this. Give us something new. Mm-hmm.
Look, there is a sports angle. It is the biggest story on the globe today for whatever reason. Taylor Swift has a new album coming out, and she just happened to announce it on High Hopes with her boyfriend and her future brother-in-law.
Showgirls is a terrible movie, by the way.
You watched it as well, right?
I mean, I watched it once, and that was that.
That's it. That's what I said. There's nothing redeeming about that movie. I feel like there were a lot of really uncomfortable scenes, like really, really kind of uncomfortable, just ugly scenes from what I remember.
Gina Gershon's in this.
Who?
I don't.
Gina Gershon.
Yeah.
She was like the rival, if I remember correctly.
Yes. Okay.
She was like the rival dancer.
Is that going to make me want to rewatch this?
Yeah. Gina Gershon had a string of risque films. There was one with Jennifer Tilly that I remember.
Bound.
That's right.
Bound.
Another not great movie. I had somebody tell me, "Wow, it's a hot movie. It's a hot movie. You should check it out." Watched it. I'm like, nah, no. This was a waste of my Blockbuster card.
I'm sorry, Mike Danger. That's an excellent movie. I don't know what you're talking about. So, Jennifer Tilly, yes, check, yes.
She had that voice. Remember the voice? Jennifer Tilly had that really high-pitched voice.
Jennifer Tilly also married one of the Simpsons creators.
Oh.
Yes.
Was she a voice on the Simpsons? Did they ever use her for anything?
I don't think so.
Because she could have pulled it off pretty easily, I would think.
We are so bored with the James Cook storyline that we're talking about Jennifer Tilly and The Simpsons.
All right, let's get to it.
I'm sorry.
Let's get to it.
There's not really, like, what is happening here today, I think it's pretty evident. Like, it's not meaning that there's a contract coming. Like, you said it earlier. What's more likely? Was it the fact that, hey, I'm Cook and I'm going to come and be a good employee? Or was it the bill saying, hey, you know what? They point to the CBA. You could get fined here, buddy.
Or just stop farting around.
Yeah.
Like, we want to win a Super Bowl here, and if we win a Super Bowl, you're going to get yours. So what are we doing? And I know there are a lot of people that are going to say, well, this means that a deal is imminent. It does it? Because I don't get the sense that they were ever close, that they are close to getting a deal done. I mean, look, I would love for the Bills to sign James Cook. He's a great player, but don't do it. Don't cave to his demands. You're the Buffalo Bills. You know what you value that position at. You know what you value him at that position at. And if he wants to say no to that, then you let him hit free agency after the season. But he is still under contract this season. The Bills don't have to give him an extension that is more than what they're willing to pay him. That's just life.
So what changed today? What has changed? I guess maybe we could back it up. Like, he was on the field. We saw him doing warm-ups, but then he didn't go out and play. You couldn't play him against the Giants. So did this actually kind of happen a few days before the Giants game, and then we just are learning about this now, seeing him on the field? I think if I'm just connecting dots here, if you're the Bills, your deadline is right now, I would think, in terms of getting him ready for the season. You've seen soft tissue injuries other places on this roster. That's one guy you can't afford. So if you're going to have James Cook on the field, you've got to get him toughened up a little bit for week one.
I think that what you're saying, Sean McDermott is sounding a little bit more agitated with each passing day that this was going on, having to talk about it on top of the injuries. Guys like Cole Bishop that can't stay on the field.
Yeah, and then when McDermott's asked about this, he's talking in circles, which leads me to believe, okay, there's more to the story, and he doesn't want to let on, and just doesn't sound happy.
This was Sean McDermott prior to today's practice, where James Cook did participate.
To clarify on James, have you had, like, when you say expected, have you had conversations with him that lead you to think he's practicing today? Like, has anything changed?
I would say so. I would say so that things have changed, Elena, with, and yes, we've had conversations with James, good conversations, as I've mentioned before, and the information that we're getting is that he is moving in the direction of practicing today. So, we'll see in a few minutes here, but that's the information we've gotten. So.
Is that from James himself, just to clarify that?
I don't think it's necessary to get into the weeds on it, but the most important thing is that he is expected to practice, and I'm rather confident that that's going to happen.
Is his situation still kind of day-to-day, or is it the holding's over?
Too early to go there. Right now, I'm just focused on what's right in front of us, which is the practice, which would be a step for us here, which is what we're focused on right now.
So you can't say the holding is over.
No, and the information I'm given. Well, you talked to James. He said he's practicing. He doesn't want to call him a liar in case if there's like an about face like there was one morning.
Was there a conversation between Brandon Beane and James Cook's representation where Brandon Beane said, "Look, this is our offer, and he's under contract this year, and we've been flexible. It's been 9 days, 9 days where he hasn't practiced
9 times.
But right now, we could start fining him for refusing to practice. We could fine him for not playing on Saturday. I don't know that the Bills would do that, but they can. It's in their right to do that.
We haven't seen this with McLaurin. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but we haven't seen any other hold-ins. Hayward is threatening it. And you could also say that James Cook, he's been above board on this. He hasn't gone to the, ooh, yeah, my back isn't feeling so good. I mean, that would be really passive-aggressive to go down that route.
Because it would also hurt his future. I mean, like anything that he does short of ball out this season has potential to damage his future earnings, including being a guy that holds in during training camp. I mean, we saw what this did I'm not saying that they collude, but they kind of collude. The NFL owners talk. Guys get blackballed.
No, nobody wants to reset the market.
Right.
That's when the Browns did what they did with Deshaun Watson, and you could say, boy, that was karma biting him. Look, that is frowned upon.
Yes.
However, like the question I have, and a lot of people, we only know the $15 million from social media. Like, was he offered something more north of Kyron Williams? If the answer is no, then I'm going to be like, okay, well, then I understand. So that to me is like the reasonable And you could make it look incentive laden that, okay, you reach all these things and you get 18 touchdowns, you win a Super Bowl, you do all these things that could get you close to where you want to be, James.
Yeah, I think I haven't really moved off my stance on this. We've talked to a lot of people throughout the course of the offseason, throughout the preseason here now in training camp, and I still believe that these two sides are so far apart that the unfortunate truth here is that the season goes on, James Cook hits free agency, and he's not a Buffalo Bill next year. And I think he will get his money. I think a team will pay him if he has the kind of season that we all think he could have in 2025. I mean, the Bills could have played the CBA card with Cook's representation. Hey, you want to get to free agency? He's not practicing. We can hold on to him for another year. We could block him from receiving an accrued season towards free agency for not performing under his contract, which he's not doing right now. So
that's never been done, though, for practice. Even with Le'Veon Bell, that was not done.
Right.
So,
these are all hostile moves.
Yeah.
Hard for me to imagine that they would do it. But I think as you hear Sean McDermott, and we know that Brandon Beane was caught off guard by this, wasn't something that the organization expected. Everybody's saying the right thing. Hey, it's business, whatever. We got to get it done. But James Cook coming off the field didn't want to talk about it today. And
if you're just taking it from the standpoint of, hey, I'm on a national team, but am I known nationally? I'm in the shadows of Josh Allen for good reason, right? What's the lead story on the ESPN Talking Head show today? We turn on 5 o'clock. There's James Cook, and everybody debating James Cook. If you want to get your client paid in a roundabout way, and maybe we see this with Dallas and Micah Parsons, these are the storylines for whatever reason we talk about. Who's not getting paid? Who's upset? And what's the situation in Dallas? What's going on with James Cook in Buffalo? What's going to happen? He's going to play week 1.
That's the plan.
Yeah,
unless
that's it.
Unless an injury happens here in the preseason, which that would suck. If it was a legit injury, if it was something that kept him out for an extended amount of time, that would suck for James Cook, and it would suck for the Bills.
You need padded practices. You need contact. You need to do those things.
Got to get calloused.
You can't be popping a hamstring week 1.
Josh Allen excited to have Jimbo back.
As players, we have to separate sometimes the business and the sport. I know both sides thought that what they're doing is the right thing. Obviously, we're very happy to have Jimbo out there today, and I trust in Beane and what he's going to get done. And, we're just very happy that he's out there with us right now.
So knowing, hey, he's back there, right? Like, it's noticeable. Obviously, everybody's paying attention. What does that do for you guys as a team?
Again, just to have him out there and getting those reps and making sure that he's getting ready to go for game 1. And, again, we had no doubts that he wouldn't be ready, but to be out there with the guys and sweating and battling in practice, I think that's good for the team.
Word salad. What else is he going to say? Like, Josh is doing what he's supposed to do. Take the middle road, not taking the side.
I mean, this news today is the worst case scenario for tonight's premiere of Hard Knocks. If we already know the outcome before the drama of episode 2, James Cook's hold in, takes center stage.
See, silly me, I'm thinking back to really when Hard Knocks was outstanding. We were watching Rex Ryan, go have a snack. There were other storylines like the Darrelle Revis, like one of the best defenders in the game at that point, holding out. And you see the agent, and you're following. You go to the diner on Route 17, basically. Like, oh my gosh, they're giving you access. Yeah, no NFL team wants that anymore, especially after what happened to the Giants.
Oh, you need to get a deal done for Revis Island? Well, let's meet at the Bada Bing, Rex. What do you think? Bring the cameras down and everything. Let's go.
Like, do you think that Penfield native Pat Harris, the director, sent his crew over and be like, talk to James, see if he'll say something? They go by the dorm room. Hey, James, you got a second? Sure. Tell us about the contract. And he's going to say something. James, can we talk to your agent? Sure, here's his number. That's not making it in tonight. I'm sorry. There's probably footage out there. Like you said, 300 hours. Well, that's one of them, so 299 more. That is not making it in tonight.
Yeah. What will we see tonight, episode 2 of Hard Knocks? We'll probably see the preseason opener, right? We'll probably see a little bit of Saturday's game.
I was stunned that, wait, they brought it all the way up to the blue and the red. Okay, yeah, we will see that. We'll see Sean McDermott post-game kind of pointing out. Here's the thing, too. Saw Monica and Joey, good friends of the sports.
Joey Kipchoge.
Yeah, good friends of the sports bar. They, Joey, the point is, Hard Knocks also introduces you to the fringy sort of player, and you're going to buy in. And you really want him to make the team until he gets caught. We didn't get introduced to that. Maybe KJ Hamler with the
baby scooter.
Yeah, but he's probably practice squad. I don't know. Are we going down that road?
No,
we haven't.
I don't think so.
Joe Andreessen's not getting cut, by the way. He's a very valuable part of this team now.
Crazy to think that last year at this time we were
patting
him on the head saying, oh, this is such a cute story. Oh, what great PR for Buffalo. What great PR for the – no, he can play. He can play.
See, my prediction tonight, all right, and you say there's 2% chance. I say there's 10. It's your question about the Pittsburgh game because you have to establish, hey, this kid can play. And if there's one game that would show that he would play, it would have been that one. And your question, what they call the B-roll, they show the highlights of that game.
I think it will be your question about who pushes him and him gushing about his old man. And then some footage of...
If the old man was at practice...
Some home movies. Give me some home movies of the old man working out with Joe in the backyard when he was a teenager. And that's the B-roll that I think could make the cut tonight. If you got the permission of the Andreessen family to go that deep, that's what I would see. So but we both believe, or I believe, that Catalana's backyard has a better chance of making episode 2 than either of our questions.
Yeah, because to establish the whole James Cook thing, you're going to need Brandon Beane talking about what officially the team's stance is, and you could do Beane at a press conference, but Beane in the backyard feels.
Yeah. And your nephew probably has the best chance of everybody because he got interviewed as a fan of Bill's Mafia, and
and he's just very loud and obnoxious. He is.
He kind of fits the profile.
Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah, so we'll see. It premieres tonight at 9:00.
It's it. Then our Time in the Sun on HBO has come to an end here in Rochester.
Are you turning your phone off, or are you leaving it on while you're watching?
Oh, I need the reaction from everybody. It's like it's a communal event. Everybody watching this together.
So you're right at 9:00.
Yeah,
turning it on. I gotta see if it's 9:00, 9:15, 9:30. I gotta see. But I'm excited.
The question is, how many in the Danger household watch this? It's not going to be 4 of 4.
I've got 3 of 4 to watch episode 1. Okay. And if I'm lucky, it won't happen tonight. It'll be 1 of 1 tonight. It'll be me tonight. Maybe 2 of 3. My daughter's out of town, so she's not watching it. My older daughter. My younger daughter might watch it with her old man. But 9:00 is way past Sandy's bedtime. She's not going to commit to that.
All right, well, we'll have it on there. The 4 of us and Beasley, the dog.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
It's a regular Norman Rockwell painting in upstate New York. Everybody gathered, huddled around the TV, watching the Buffalo Bills on Hard Knocks.
Yeah. How many people around here named their dog after a Bills player?
Former Bills player.
Well, at the time, yeah. Yeah, very popular.
We got to get to a round of shots next.
We are way overdue as some things we're kind of chasing here. As, gosh, there's one story out of I'm not trying to get you all riled up here.
Yeah, you already did that. That was me earlier today. I got a little riled up when you were talking about the Bears.
I don't know if you saw this story out of the Chicago Tribune. It's a little concerning. There's a team that might be getting a new hockey arena, too. And, yes, we get some more NBA dates. And, baseball needs promotions, but is this one a little cheesy here, what they did at the White Sox game?
We've got a round of shots coming up. We have last call coming up. You can have the final word in the sports bar when you call us at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326.
You're listening to the Rochester. Mornings with Maggie and Perloff. Afternoons with Danger and Battaglia. Bills, Sabres, and Amherst coverage all day. Tell your smart device to play 95.7 The Fan, the sports leader. The Fan Rochester. The Fan Rochester. Sports Update.
James Cook returning to practice today for the Buffalo Bills, although we really don't know if the hold-in is permanently off. Josh Allen on the upcoming joint practices against the Bears.
You get the opportunity to see new looks, go against different guys. The number one thing, again, I think everyone kind of knows about these types of practices. Sometimes they can get a little chippy, and we're not looking to go out there and fight, but we're going out there to compete and get those competitive juices flowing, and that's very fun for me.
Those practices coming up on Friday. Bills and Bears, 6 o'clock Sunday for our coverage here on the Fan Rochester. The Wings are home tonight. It's the first home game for the Wings in the month of August. Syracuse is the opponent. Yankees sending Carlos Rodon to the mound against the Twins. The Jays hosting the Cubs. The Mets are home against the Braves. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
Listen to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. The Fan Rochester.
Yeah, great advice. If you missed Matt Perino from earlier today or our fantasy football conversation with Michael F. Florio from NFL Network, just search out the Sports Bar wherever you get your shows. It's time for a round of shots.
Danger, I'm not saying this to get you riled up. Okay, it's noteworthy because the Bills are playing the Bears. We've seen stories like this in sports history, like St. Louis Cardinals pitcher Rick Ankiel losing it. Guys that lose it, what happens? Okay, all that being said, I don't know what's going on with Caleb Williams, but here's the story. He didn't play on Sunday against the Dolphins. No big deal, right? It's the preseason. But it's the practice previously that's worth discussing. I don't know if you saw this report. I'm sure you did. Chicago Tribune, Brad Briggs reporting that the Bears had a red zone practice, 87 plays. All the plays, routes in the air, no defenders, no pass rush, all scripted plays. And despite going against no defenders to bring pressure and guarding his receivers, Caleb Williams struggled to hit the targets in the red zone.
This is fun. This is a fun story. Thanks, Gene. Thanks for bringing that up.
What is it?
What is it? I would say maybe he didn't play on Sunday because the practice prior he had 87 reps running this, red zone drill or whatever Ben Johnson's cooking up. I mentioned this earlier. I need to, and I think Bears fans in general, and football fans, if you're somebody who, sees a young quarterback, a Heisman-winning quarterback, and thinks, if he's good, that's good for football. That's good for the league. Ben Johnson is a rarity for a Bears fan because he's the guy that we wanted, and we got him. He's the guy that everybody wanted, and he chose us. He could have gone to Washington, went to Chicago, loves Chicago, talks about how he loves Chicago. So I think a lot of Bears fans now have to kind of divorce themselves from any emotion around Caleb Williams, his performance or lack thereof, and put faith and trust in how Ben Johnson, who's the guy that we wanted, in how he's coaching him. And maybe he's tearing him down to build him up. Maybe he's looking for perfection. I'm going to trust the guy that turned Jared Goff into a consistent quarterback when he was dealt to Detroit and we all left him for dead. Jared Goff didn't play a lot in the preseason.
These are all positive things, but I would say, don't overreact to the preseason, but what if it doesn't look right on Sunday night?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, maybe he doesn't even play on Sunday night.
Maybe he doesn't even play, right.
That's, again, if you're somebody that's going to be like, hey, he needs to play, he needs the reps, I'm going to trust the coach on this one. I'm going to say, well, however he's managing him, he's managing him. That's the guy that we all wanted. That's the guy that a lot of teams wanted.
Can we go back to your football voice, though? He needs to play. He needs the reps.
No, that's angry fan voice.
Okay.
Why are these guys soft? They need to get out there and play. No, I don't need to see them. I don't. I mean, if the coach of the football team that I'm a fan of, that we wanted, that we got, that chose us, says, I'm running the show. This is guidance and leadership that they haven't had in decades. Decades.
I'm not saying this to get you riled up. I'm just saying, is there
Liar.
something there?
Liar. You're saying, does he have the yips?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I'm not going to overreact to the preseason. Does he have the yips? I don't know. I'll say this, and I've said this from the moment they hired Ben Johnson, and the moment the schedule came out. We'll know before the bye week if Caleb Williams is the dude. If the schedule sets up for the Bears where Caleb Williams is going to have plenty of opportunity to show the NFL what he is. And if it doesn't go his way and he's not the dude, I'm going to continue to try and trust Ben Johnson because he's supposedly this wonderful coach that everybody wanted. I can't. When you look around the league, and we said this with Flory earlier, you look at how Dave Canales managed Bryce Young. Similar kind of quarterback, right? Highly touted, first overall pick. People were like, oh, I don't know about this guy. I don't know. It's not working. Bad situation first year. Frank Reich is gone. They bring in Canales. Canales gives him a little tough love. Take a seat. You don't know the offense. Take a seat. You're not hitting. Andy Dalton, go out there. And that was probably an eye-opener for him. Am I saying that that's what's going to happen with Caleb? I don't know. But I'm going to have to trust the coach that supposedly is the guy that everybody wanted.
I learned this from listening to BetMGM last night. Bryce Young, last 3 games of the season, had the 3rd highest QBR.
Yeah.
Like, okay, it started to click, but is that a product of him learning it, or is it just teams he was going up against? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he looked like a different quarterback at the end of last year. And maybe that was his own doing. Maybe the time off, maybe the time on the bench helped wake him up. And if that's what it takes, then that's what it takes. But I can't overreact to a practice in the preseason. I can't overreact to him not playing in a preseason game. And if I'm hearing that he's doing all that he's doing, 87 plays during a red zone session during practice, that's a lot of reps. That would be a story anywhere. That would be a story anywhere. Can you imagine if Josh Allen did 87 reps?
87 plays.
You're not seeing him in the preseason. He's done enough in practice. More
what
productive.
If it didn't look good throwing against air?
Look, it's practice. It's where you make your mistakes. It's where you can, tweak your mechanics and do different things. I don't know. Hard to say. I can't overreact to it. I'm going to put faith in Ben Johnson. That's the guy that we wanted. That's the guy. If it works, he's the man. If it doesn't work, it's just more suffering. It's been decades.
Well, what'll happen is Friday, I would think Williams will be out there for the joint practice.
Sure.
We talked to Matt Perino earlier in the show. You have Perino out there. Some of the other Bills regulars will be out there. And if it doesn't look right, we'll know right away.
Yeah.
Let me try to get you in a better frame of mind. Talking about Canada, you're going up there. You love Toronto. I love Montreal. They're both great cities, right? Fun Canadian cities. I would suggest this city, too, although it's not at those that level, Toronto and Montreal. I think Ottawa's really nice, too, especially in the winter when you can skate right there on the river. One thing Ottawa didn't do right, is our producer Dan DeLorean will tell you, where they put the hockey arena. Nowhere near the city, miles outside of it. Sounds like that's going to change now. The team purchasing 11 acres in downtown Ottawa. Of course, it's not just the arena, it's the development. Early plans call for 2,000 new housing units, new retail, commercial space, all the fixings.
Go get them. That's exciting news. Yeah, we've heard that for far too long, that their arena is just out in the middle of nowhere near downtown, and that's a tough look. So, good. I'm happy for them. Hope it's great.
I don't agree with this. Major League Baseball was considering the idea of being flexible with the start dates of the World Series, meaning, hey, if the ALCS and the NLCS both wrapped up early, well, shouldn't the World Series start right after? After all, it's Northeast, weather can be a thing in the fall. No, we're not going to do that. Game 1 of the World Series is now wired in Friday, October 24th, which means if it goes to a Game 7, that will be in November.
Really? That's not the first time that's happened, though.
No, but what would be the reason other than your TV partners really, really want this for these dates? Or maybe it's your travel partners or corporate partners that you're selling World Series
What
packages.
about the stadiums? Do the stadiums have different events going? I mean, these are mostly baseball stadiums. They don't have different events, but I would be in favor of them saying, yeah, they wrapped it up early. Let's start in a couple days.
Yeah.
I would be in favor of that. But selfishly, I would be in favor of that because I'm going to be watching games in my garage, and by the end of October, it starts to get a little bit chilly in there at night to watch these games and stay up late.
Especially where you are by the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're about 10 degrees cooler, I swear. October is the best month of sports. We had that weird Friday afternoon news dump. Like here at the NBA, like, why are you telling us at 5 o'clock on a Friday what the Christmas Day games are? Well, we got some more leaks or more official announcements today. Opening night on NBC and Peacock will be Tuesday, October 21st. Houston, Oklahoma City, the defending champs, followed by Lakers and Warriors. And 4 more games have been revealed for Martin Luther King Day. That's Bucks, Hawks, Cavs, OKC, Knicks and Mavs, and Celtics and Pistons.
How many stars do you think sit out the opening night?
All of them.
Welcome to the first game back on NBC, and you've got John Tesh's theme playing, and everything is great, and everybody's excited, and you turn on the game, and none of the stars are playing.
I didn't realize this. You're going to have to put earmuffs on when it comes to LeBron Love. When he takes the court that night, he's going to set the record for most seasons in the NBA. I didn't realize he's going to break Vince Carter's record.
Good for him. I mean, that's but we have to respect him. We have to.
You should.
We have to. His dictate is we have to respect him. We have to. Weird, but we have to, so we will.
The White Sox have to do anything they can to get fans into the stands. How about this for a promotion? Married in a Minute. 2 lifelong Sox fans got married in a 60-second ceremony between the 3rd and the 4th inning in Chicago in a game against the Guardians. The ceremony officiated by 1983 AL Rookie of the Year Ron Kittle.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the closing scene in Spaceballs. Do you? Great, you're married.
This is like an old radio stunt that Major League Baseball teams can still do. We can't do these kind of things anymore in radio in our world with the lawyers, holding everything really tight to the vest, and there's a lot of scandal if you were to do this kind of a promo. Like, are the White Sox prepared to have this go horribly wrong between the newlyweds?
If it's 2 consenting adults that want to get married in 60
I'm sure they had to sign some pretty significant waivers to hold the White Sox harmless from anything that might happen after the nuptials occurred. You got good lawyers there with the White Sox, I would imagine.
Like, okay, so, I mean, they did this to sell tickets, right? Because I would assume that the bride and the groom had families and friends that wanted to watch this, and
right.
They didn't come into the game for free.
Congratulations, your attendance went from 200 to 214 for a random night on a weeknight. Really, the promotion just worked. It just really... We took those extra 14 bodies. We gave them each a beer. Concessions were through the roof. It was fantastic. Are you bringing up the White Sox because their record is better than the Mets? What's the stat?
Since June 19th, the White Sox have 2 more wins than the Mets.
Yeah.
Mets have lost 7 in a row.
You got the White Sox on the brain. Let's eliminate the White Sox. They don't exist. They're a minor league team.
I wish we had the Twins on the schedule, but we don't.
You need a slump buster. The Mets need a slump buster.
Oh, we get the Braves. Even I can't S-talk the Braves, Danger. I just can't do it at this point.
No, you need a Rockies. You need a Pirates.
You know what I need tonight? Hard Knocks. Yes, that's when I watch Hard Knocks. Not gonna watch baseball.
We'll get some Hard Knocks in our life tonight. Episode 2. We will be back tomorrow afternoon, starting at 3:00, to do a full recap. PJ Glasser will also join us tomorrow afternoon at 3:25. He is the host of Send It In on the BetMGM network. Our Odyssey Sports Betting Insider calls presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app. Also joining us tomorrow, Josh Reed covering the Buffalo Bills, WIVB-TV in Buffalo. We'll get his thoughts on tomorrow's practice before the team packs it up, heads to Chicago for the joint practice on Thursday. If you missed Michael F. Florio from NFL Network or Matt Perino from the Syracuse Post-Standard, search the Sports Bar wherever you get your shows, including the Odyssey app, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or you can go back and watch any part of the show you may have missed on our YouTube channel where we stream live every afternoon from 3 until 6. Gino, have a great night.
Thanks, you too, Danger.
JR Sport Brief is on the way next. Thanks for listening to the Sports Bar on the Fan, Rochester.